The fate of humanity was entrusted to those who did not belong to the ancient world. The last fortress of humanity is collapsing. Even the mighty red dragon fell. The elder watched the battle. The keeper of time, Otto, told him that the world could no longer be saved. The boy was ready to burn his body and soul with the help of the time dragon to open the way to the past. Otto believed that with the elder's wisdom, they could change the future. The elder was one of those who best knew the secrets of time. None of them could leave this world. A decision was made. Give power to someone who does not belong to this world. This was the only way to save humanity. All the elder's powerful energy was directed towards the sky from the last tower. God, in the form of a dark octopus, laughed at this useless struggle. The forbidden god echoed that all pitiful hopes would turn into despair. He wrapped his tentacles around the bright beam to destroy the passage. The elder raised his staff to the sky, saying that they were only dust, but they would die as heroes. The warriors froze as they saw the elder begin the act of sacrifice. Their age was drawing to an end, and the elder called on the warriors to join the doomsday fireworks. With tears in their eyes and heads held high, they agreed to the sacrifice. People from ancient times presented a gift to the future through the Milky Way. Travel back in time to sow seeds of hope. This will be a generation of ancient wasteland, where beasts and monsters rage. With beast tamers, they fight monsters, and death awaits them outside the shelters. Blacklight's main base has stood in dangerous territory for hundreds of years, and its current owner is an extremely powerful master. It was he who created the camp, and the methodology for the tamers' leaflets were hung inside the castle. They said that those whose eggs did not hatch within 3 years would be transferred to the collection team. The boy sighed. He sat down on a wooden barrel with a blue egg in his hand. Su Heng was annoyed. Tomorrow was the last chance, but his egg showed no signs of hatching. Looking at the dark tower in the light of the lanterns, the boy felt offended. Suddenly a bright flash appeared in the sky. The guy didn't have time to understand what it was before it flew down and hit him on the head. Su Heng fell off the barrel. While unconscious, he saw a red, powerful dragon, and a man with long hair and a spear in his hands, sitting on horseback. The boy opened his eyes from the screams in his ear. They poked a whip in his face. The guy with the machine gun on his shoulder indignantly asked if Su Heng had slept here. Before the hero could even comprehend what was happening, he continued that the younger ones could not sleep in the castle. The guy pointed a whip at Su Heng and forced him to answer whether he had spent the night there or not. The hero asked again. It turns out that his visions were just a dream in which he tamed a dragon. The guy was already starting to get angry, because this kid was talking to himself instead of answering. He swung and hit Su Heng in the face. There was a scratch on the hero's cheek. The guy with the whip heard that Han was going to join the wanderers from the search party. He swung his whip, asking if the boy could return alive once he got outside the base. Suddenly everyone froze. The egg cracked. Han leaned towards him and, in disbelief, asked if he had really succeeded. He grabbed the egg and raised it above his head, glad that 3 years had not been wasted. The guy with the whip cursed, not believing that this piece of trash had succeeded. He immediately changed his shoes and began babbling, saying that it was a misunderstanding. He promised to inform the head teacher that Su Heng had completed his internship and become a master. However, she didn't need to be told. Lu Yu, the head mentor of the Blacklight Towers, arrived at the scene. She approached the hero and said that he could now interact with the egg. The boy pressed his cheek to the egg and tenderly said that he had been waiting for it, his little one. A sound came from the egg, and Han happily declared that it was talking. Lu Yu said with a smile that more and more young tamers were appearing in Blacklight. Suddenly her gaze stopped on the hero's face and became stern. The teacher asked what kind of wound he had on his cheek. Without thinking twice, the guy pointed his finger at the man with the whip. Lu Yu turned to him and asked how he dared to hit the master. For this, she will reward him with 20 lashes, and then he will be sent into the wasteland to get food. The guy started crying and asking them not to do this. He knelt down and began to beg, but the teacher was already busy with Su Heng. The two of them climbed up the tower. There, her owner, Zhou Gu, asked if this was the only new guy this half year. Lu Yu reported that everything was so. She also heard that Heng was going to join the search party, but suddenly his egg began to hatch. The woman pointed her finger at the hero and said that he should be well rewarded. Zhou laughed, calling the guy persistent because he was able to do everything at the last moment. The owner crossed his fingers and said the young man had 2 options. The first is to speed up the hatching process, after which the scaly lizard will become stronger than others. Second, when it's time to get a second pet, the owner will allow you to choose 1 egg from his collection. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, so Han chose the first option. Zhou praised his choice. He would arrange for the dragon scales to be delivered this afternoon, hoping the boy would remember and do his part. Su Heng made a promise. Besides the castle, Blacklight itself is divided into outer and inner zones, with the wealthy living in the inner zone. The outer zone is considered bad and dirty, where the lower classes live. Su Heng's house was located in the outer zone. The hero complained that he was in pain, and his little sister screamed that he was gone during the night. This morning she went to the inner zone to find him, but she couldn't, and had to wait at the gate. Knock on the door. The boy from the castle put his hand to his head and reported that the owner of the tower ordered this to be delivered. He bowed and wished Su Heng success in martial arts and in raising beasts. Seeing the gold coins lined up in small towers, the hero and his sister froze. The girl blushed and asked in surprise, "Did her brother really succeed?" She pressed herself against him and began to hug him, saying that Mom and Dad would be happy. The guy mumbled that he would still live in the outer zone. Realizing that they were not alone, the boys suddenly fell silent. The girl let go of Han and remembered that she was getting ready for work. As she left, she told the baby to behave well. The door slammed. The hero accepted the reward and began to unpack the gifts alone. There was a dragon scale in the box. Once it landed in his palm, it began to glow. Su Heng's eyes rolled back as a yellow hole appeared in his head. In his mind, the boy saw a book with a dragon on the cover, and information on how a scaly lizard turns into a dragon lizard. Having come to his senses, he exhaled and thanked her for the valuable gift. Suddenly the realization came that the scaly lizard would turn into a dragon. An adult dragon lizard is a high-class species that can destroy a city, while Heng is a middle-class species. These were two completely different species. The dragon blood root looked like a brownish-brown root. The guy wondered if it was good for him. There was a girl who had such talent that she surprised the owner of the tower and became his student. The first animal she mounted was a dangerous, high-class species. The boy clenched his hand into a fist, thinking that he could bring out the dragon lizard. He immediately ran to the medical store. In it, he acquired the necessary herbs. Then he ground them in a bowl, and he dropped the egg into the bowl with it, thinking that he could also become a disciple of the tower's master. On the floor, Su Heng drew a pentagram with ink. When he finished, the circle on the floor lit up. A bright yellow silhouette of a dragon burst out of the egg. He spread his wings like a phoenix, his radiance blinding. And then the bright figure returned back into the shell. An even bigger crack appeared on the egg. The guy froze, wondering if it was a scaly lizard or a dragon lizard. On the training ground, the students stood in pairs and were already practicing. Lu Yu stood with her arms crossed over her chest. The students discussed among themselves that Han's egg had not yet hatched, and that he had not attended training for 4 days. When the teacher saw his figure in the goal, she asked if he understood that he had to go to training. The guy replied that he had a reason. The woman said that it would be better if this reason turned out to be very serious. The boy looked over his shoulder and asked the baby to get out. Blue paws and golden eyes appeared from the backpack. The hero's baby climbed onto his shoulder. He growled sweetly, as if saying hello. However, the face of the teacher and students turned dark at the sight of this creature. They realized that it was not a scaly lizard, and besides, it looked scary. It was a particularly dangerous species, the dragon lizard. Lu Yu turned around and told Heng to follow her to the castle master. Jogu was amazed that the student hatched a very dangerous species first. The man asked what the hell it was and who gave him this egg. The owner ordered to immediately contact the bureau responsible for this. How dare they cross a scaly lizard and a dragon lizard? He praised Su Heng, because thanks to his hard work he had gone through a lot all these years. First, he got a very ordinary egg, and now he has a very dangerous top-level species in his hands. The man was convinced that this was just the beginning, and Han promised to live up to expectations. The tower owner was glad that they had such talent, and he still asked if Su Heng wanted to become his disciple. The guy, although he thought about it, did not expect this offer so soon. Lu Yu didn't think that after that genius, the master would accept someone else as a disciple. The hero replied, placing his fist on his heart, that he really wanted to. The man laughed good-naturedly. That evening, he was planning to throw a banquet where all the tamers and their mentors would be there to celebrate the emergence of talent. And they celebrated until the evening. Then Su Heng and his sister returned home accompanied by the burgomaster's personal guard. The hero boasted that he received 100 gold coins a month for the upkeep of his pet. The sister grabbed the boy by the cheek, saying that she wouldn't have earned that much even in 3 years. He told his sister to go and rest before work. The most striking difference between normal creatures and dangerous species is their innate magical abilities. The ability to use magic is a magical talent that is a key factor in determining strength. The snake dragon lizard has a special predisposition to magic. Besides the evil attack, there are 6 skills, such as dragon sleep, quick recovery, also the lower power of the dragon, typical for most, and dragon power. Dragons use the power of the earth, which is a destructive technique. Natural power allows you to use the energy of nature and its resources for magic. The combination of natural strength and dragon sleep makes the dragon lizard almost invincible. The last skill is evil, the most powerful destructive technique Han read about in the book. While the dragon was sleeping, the boy said that he believed that he would become a true master of beasts. The baby grew up in his sleep, and Han became afraid. The hero cursed, because he didn't expect dangerous species to grow so quickly. The next day, he and Jogu gathered in the training room, and the man acknowledged that the young man's dragon was talented. He suggested that the hero test the dragon's power in 3 magical elements and choose one. His beast's element is evil, the owner pointed his finger forward. His ring, the animal talisman, began to glow. An animal talisman is an item that allows you to hold a huge animal inside you. The beast becomes so large that it is difficult to contain, so the tamers use decorations as talismans. A bloodthirsty wolf burst out from Joe's ring. He is a representative of the second-rank evil element, the Scarlet Wolf. The wolf was Joe's main beast before, and it is very suitable for training the snake dragon. Su Heng tensed up. He couldn't believe that they were compatible. Stroking the beast's nose, the man explained that the Scarlet Wolf is a very dangerous species, combining purebred breeding with true anger. Joe asked the boy to put the dragon down on the floor and trust him. The dragon and its owner simultaneously shuddered. The little animal was trembling with fear. He looked at his owner with concern. Han held out his palms and told them not to rely on him. Ju ordered the Scarlet Wolf to use evil breath to show the baby how it should be done. The wolf raised his head and opened his mouth, concentrating his power in it. Suddenly the man shouted for him to stop, and the beast looked down questioningly. The tower owner said it worked. The baby released a dark aura. His eyes were shining, his paws were firmly on the floor. The man called the baby smart. Su Heng was rooting for his little dragon and cheering him on. However, he only managed to release a small puff of steam. The animal first comprehended the evil element. Purple smoke is the initial form of the breath of an evil thought. Looking at the dragon's first steps, one can understand that he has enormous potential. The leader decided that the dragon would no longer need the Scarlet Wolf. Ju Gu sent the beast back into the talisman. An even more enormous creature appeared in its place. The Earth Platypus is a trio formed from earth magic, beast essence, and intimidation. The little dragon grabbed its owner by the leg and hid behind it in fear. Han asked the teacher if maybe it wasn't worth it. Joe agreed with him. Then a third beast appeared with hot breath. His tail was covered with strong scales. The man decided that Han was right, so the dragon needed a stronger beast. It was one of the most powerful beasts of the chapter, a lava tyrannosaurus, a harmony of fire, stone, and evil. At this point, the guy himself lost his power of speech. He asked the teacher if dragons were rare. The answer was positive. He was lucky that his dragon hatched first. Without him, Han would not have gotten the second egg. Han thought that the grimoire with the rituals of ancient dragons was a very serious thing. Joe asked if the student was ready. The little dragon was already crying at the sight of the huge beast. The leader ordered the lava tyrannosaur to act to see the dragon's reaction. The tyrannosaurus roared. This roar caused a gust of wind that forced the boy to duck. The pressure was terrifying. Han felt like a tiny boat about to capsize. The man put his hand on the hero's shoulder. He told the guy to move away, or he would get hurt. Han mentally sighed because it was over. His eyes widened at the power of the T-Rex. The teacher said, looking at the little dragon. This little guy held up pretty well. Then Jogu ordered the Tyrannosaurus to intensify its attack. The pressure on the dragon increased. The man wanted to see if the baby could handle it. What a surprise. The little dragon not only stood firm, but also put up a defense. Although he is very weak, he tries to use the lower power of a dragon against the power of a high-level Tyrannosaurus. Joe concluded that Dragon Heng had a very high level of magical talent. The boy was delighted and asked if his beast was really that strong. The man, surprised by this question, answered that yes. The teacher asked if the young man had used the dragon scales he had sent him. Han used it as soon as he received it. Joe said that his little animal had absorbed the substance in its scales well. He may have even been able to obtain some dragon blood, which would have helped double his talent. The teacher handed the boy a book, in which he collected methods and techniques that would help in the development of the beast. There was also an interesting method for developing the power of the mind. Han beamed, and the man continued to speak, telling the boy not to forget about his spiritual preparation. The hero sincerely thanked the teacher for such a gift. After leaving the castle, Su Heng was able to buy his family's old mansion. People knew that he was a tamer, so they treated him with respect. While Su Qing's sister was working, the boy started cleaning. Even though he couldn't make the house the way it was in his memories, there was a feeling of relief in his heart. Before telling his sister the good news, Su Heng decided to go to her work and pick her up to give her a surprise. Black dogs with bared fangs, and the girl screamed in fear. Su Heng turned towards the sound. He recognized that voice. The guy rushed towards the sound, because his sister was screaming. The girl hesitantly told the wolves to go away. 3 guys stood opposite. The one in the middle told this beauty that his dogs don't bite. They just want to play with her. Su Ging waved her hand at the dogs, trying to drive them away, and the guy laughed. The 3 boys were drooling and licking their lips at Su Qing, and the dog's owner said that if she played with them that evening, the dogs would leave her alone. Su Heng asked again what that freak just said. He said that he would play with this brick then. He ran and hit the dog in the face. Blood gushed out, and the dog lost consciousness. Han shouted at those street rats to stay away from his sister. The boy was upset about his dog, Charlie. He was furious at how that bastard Su Heng dared to touch his Charlie. The guy set his second dog, Jack, on the hero. The beast ran towards Su. Suging grabbed her brother's hand and told him to run. But the guy didn't move from the spot. The dog was already jumping on him. Su Heng closed his eyes and the little dragon growled. The baby jumped on Jack, biting his throat. The beast fell to the ground and howled, but the baby was not going to stop. Su Heng praised the baby and began to encourage him. The dragon tore a piece of flesh from Jack. The hooligans were shocked. They weren't going to let it go, and they ended up with knives in their hands. The dog owner wanted to kill Han. 3 of them ran towards the boys with sharp knife blades. The hero put his palm forward. He called upon the power of the dragon. The boys stopped and trembled with fear. The 2 told the boss that it was a dragon with an evil element. They better get away. The situation escalated when security arrived in response to the sounds of a fight. The boy suggested to the boss to blame everything on Su Heng and his sister. Moreover, the fair-haired man had connections with the police. He could have simply asked to arrest this bastard. He enjoyed the idea so much that he imagined what an idiot Su Heng would turn out to be. Su Ging stood behind her brother and looked straight at the bully. He blushed just from her look. His breathing became ragged. The guy imagined how Su Heng's sister would become his and they would date. His mouth watered at the thought that his dogs had not died in vain. The security guy recognized Ku. He asked where he was going. Ku told Zheng that the scoundrel had killed his dogs with particular cruelty for no reason. He demanded that the guard arrest Su Heng and put him in a cell. Zheng ordered 2 men to detain him. Naturally, they stood on Mr. Ku's side. A brick fell at their feet. Su Heng pointed at it and admitted that he had killed the dogs with this brick. And if they had nothing better to do, then let them ask something else. The guys with handcuffs and a gun didn't expect such impudence. Suddenly they shuddered, seeing a little dragon on the guy's shoulder. The baby's eyes sparkled and he hissed. Sweat broke out on the guards' faces when they realized that they were facing a tamer. Su Heng took out a token from his pocket and held it out. This was not a simple token, but one that distinguished the burgomaster's apprentice. Speechless, the boys turned to look at their boss. Zheng heard rumors that the burgomaster had a second apprentice. He clicked his holster and placed his fingers on the grip of his pistol. Zheng fired a warning shot upward, loudly asking what kind of impudence this was. The security boss pointed his gun at Ku Zhenyao, who had presumptuously staged the murder. Zheng gave a new order to handcuff these 3 and shoot them if they resisted. Thus, the hooligans found themselves bound by the tower's justice. Ku kept insisting that it was some kind of mistake, that he was the victim. Realizing that he was not being listened to, he began shouting that his father was the owner of the plantation warehouse. Zheng punched the guy hard in the face, knocking out a tooth. He stated that this criminal tried to escape, so let him receive blows with rods. The guy approached Su Heng and said that he was glad that they reacted in time and fought off the dogs. The hero added that the 3 of them also showed up on time. Drenched in sweat, Zheng felt awkward and ashamed. He pointed at the hooligans, saying that if they didn't die, they would skin themselves. However, Han didn't care whether this guy died after Zheng or not. He would still take revenge on him. The security clearly didn't like this, but they had to grit their teeth and be understanding. Han turned to his sister and said they could go. Now everything was okay, so the hero extended his hand to her. The girl smiled. She took his hand. Watching them go, Zheng asked the boys if it was worse to offend the plantation owner or the tamer. The answer was obvious. It was better not to anger the tamer, especially since they were just small people compared to him. Zheng put his hand on the guy's shoulder, agreeing with his opinion. He ordered him to find them a carriage to take the 3 to the incinerator. The hooligans trembled as they listened to how they would first be kept in a cell. Zheng didn't name his next move, but demonstrated it by drawing a line in the air at his throat. Su Heng and Qing came to the family's old mansion, and the little sister was overjoyed. She felt as if she were in a dream. Han just told her not to faint and handed her the keys to the house. He assured that buying out the old house was just the beginning, and that things would get even better. The girl took the guy's hand in her palms and said that she believed in him. Only the best awaited them ahead. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. The hero went out to see who was there. It turned out to be the deputy director of plantation management, Go. Sister Qing walked to the door after hearing the man's voice and asked why he was there. Go received news from the police that the plantation owner's son had insulted Su Heng, so he came to do a favor. The man planned to transfer him to the 30th plantation so that he would plow the land and be a farmer. He believed that the plantation manager would be able to adapt to this, despite the presence of wild animals. The hero was glad that the director paid attention to this situation. The man also heard that Su Qing was a senior agronomist in the plantation system, and they wanted to promote her. The girl believed that she was not suitable for the role of deputy director. However, Go didn't think so, he assured her, babbling that she was very suitable. Sue was only too happy to help, and the man was delighted. The hero realized that the stronger they become, the more privileges they have. Later, he poured a lot of rice into the dragon's bowl. It was prepared according to the mentor's recipe for developing growth and strength, but the baby was not delighted. He shook his head and growled discontentedly. The food formulas were categorized as poor, average, good, very good, excellent, remarkable, perfect, and ideal. The food that the teacher gave Han was of very good quality, but for some reason the baby didn't like it immediately after he tried it. The guy looked at the dried fish and thought that it was all about the ingredients. It dawned on him. He opened the book of rituals of the ancient dragons. It said that after hatching, dragon lizards eat their own shells. Dragons, snakes, and lizards are very picky eaters. They prefer food in the form of living creatures. It seems Han realized what the problem was. He stroked the dragon's head and said that he would look for a normal recipe. The teacher gave him a lot of money, and therefore there was no point in limiting the dragon's food intake. Over the following days, Su Heng fed his snake dragon according to the recipes in the book. Early in the morning, he ran for fresh shrimp and bought fish. The baby really liked the new recipe, but this led to a big problem: lack of money. The last gold coin fell to the floor and spun. She stopped next to the baby's tail. This is not a baby anymore. Even though Han had no money left, his dragon had passed the baby stage and moved on to adulthood. If they encounter the dogs again, the dragon will have no trouble resisting them now. He will get ready to jump. It will make a leaping attack and leave a claw mark on the dog's face, and then he will tear it to pieces. He can finish someone like that off in a couple of seconds, in one breath. With such strong scales, an ordinary person without a firearm does not pose a threat. Even if 3 or 5 armed grown men faced the serpent dragon, they would be killed. The hero remembered that the teacher asked him to find him in the castle when the dragon entered its adult stage. It's amazing that only 5 days have passed since the dragon stopped being a baby. Han was glad that his little dragon would soon learn new skills. 10 days later, the boy knocked on the teacher's office door. Jogu asked what the boy was doing idle. The boy apologized and said that he had been working hard on developing his dragon, which is why he had not attended training. The door swung open wider, and a dragon entered the office. Han said that he had reached adulthood thanks to the teacher's recipe. Not only the door, but also the man's mouth opened wider when he saw the dragon. Han scratched his cheek, saying that 10 days wasn't that fast. Joe slapped the boy on the head, shouting that it took his disciple Bai a month for the beast to reach adulthood. He asked how much faster this brat needed it, if not in 10 days. Han was already really thinking that things would be better without such a rapid growth rate. The teacher smiled, concluding that Heng's dragon had unique growth potential. And if the baby is already an adult dragon, then he is probably familiar with his new abilities. Now he has the power of the 1st and 2nd degree dragon, which are 2 types of skills. The first is intimidation, the second is shock and awe. And also, the breath of evil thought also rose to a new level, and it formed into a stream of evil thought. Jogu asked if Heng was joking. How could he have developed his skills to such a level in such a short time? The boy replied that it was all thanks to the teacher's hard work. Han thought to himself that it was a good thing he hadn't yet told about the mastered dragon dream, the power of nature, and the evil attack. The teacher said that he had no doubts about the hero. He suggested going to the training hall and looking at the dragon's abilities. They arrived at the mayor's private training ground. Joe said that if Heng's dragon performed well, he would give him the master's talisman. After all, the guy worked hard, and how can one be a master without a talisman? Han approached the dragon and mentally asked him not to let him down. The test has begun. Ju summoned the stone armadillo bear and asked it to play with the baby. The dragon and Han's jaws dropped. The hero asked the teacher how many evil beasts he had in total. Ju replied that he was still weak, for he had only tamed 10 to 20 high-ranking beasts, and only half of them are at the level of a stone bear or a lava tyrannosaurus. The man looked at Han and told him to show him how much he wanted this talisman. He pointed his hand at the student. The bear yelled. His cry was so powerful that it was difficult to resist not only Han, but also the dragon. The wind died down and the boy noticed that the baby was using a restraining barrier. The teacher estimated that a dragon in its growing stage could withstand an adult. He stopped the bear with a gesture, and he told Han to attack with evil breath. The boy asked the dragon to use a stream of evil thoughts. A dark purple circle appeared from the baby's mouth. The dragon spat it out. A dark clot flew towards the stone bear. Joe asked, "Didn't the dragon eat enough porridge?" This pebble was like a tickle for the bear. Then Han added the pearl of evil to the stream of evil thoughts. Now 3 round spheres flew towards the beast. This time the damage was done. The stone bear's strong armor broke at the point of impact. Joe turned around as his beast let out a displeased roar. The man looked at Han and praised him. The guy was able to create a series of shots, as if with bullets. and also created a series of precise attacks. The hero awkwardly said that the teacher was praising him, although he himself knew about the technique of the Pearl of Evil. Jogu was pleased, so he handed Heng the talisman ring. It won't be able to accommodate many animals, but 5 for sure. If the tamed animals are squeezed together, then even 10 will fit. However, it was too early to rejoice. The dragon's combat experience was 0. Real fights are the best way to increase it. Therefore, Joe decided to send Heng to the northern defense sector. In 3 days, he must report to military headquarters and report. Behind the high walls of Blacklight are 4 defensive lines. Each of them consists of military camps and many beast tamers, together with specially trained military personnel with firearms. The southern and northern borders are the most dangerous, where battles take place almost every day. Most of the materials in the city made from dangerous animal species are the result of hunting by the borders. In the next 3 days, Su Heng collected his advance payment for the next month, which amounted to 250 yuan. He spent most of it on the ingredients for the dragon food, as well as 3 days on cooking. By agreement with the military headquarters, the hero went to the northern border, the 7th post. The 4 defensive lines were built largely for plantations. The land area is limited, and the total harvest within the plantations cannot satisfy 50 to 60,000 people. Work on the plantations is second only to the search party. Ku Dingquan, the head of the 5th plantation, was assigned to the 30th plantation, the northern border security zone. The chief brought the hero to the 7th observation point and wished him good luck. The participants' jaws dropped when they saw who had brought the newcomer here. The blondie heard that he was a master tamer, and that his luggage was filled with rations for tamed animals. Another one suddenly asked, "What are they waiting for then?" They went down to help the new guy. The squad members lifted 6 large rations onto their shoulders. Xiao Huang insisted, seeing the newcomer's bewilderment, that they move his things, since the safety of the point now depended on him. The hero said that Huang was older than him, so he would call him Huang Ge. The man almost whined. It was the first time he had met a tamer who wasn't pompous. Huang Ge asked the boys to hurry up to prepare a feast for Su. There are only 29 guard posts on the northern border. More than 10 years ago, the 7th point was blown to smithereens by a passing dangerous species. Since then, a 7th point has been rebuilt on the ruins, the place where Han would first enter battle. After unpacking their things, the participants settled in for dinner. Huang Ge treated the hero to Awen's dish, praising his cooking. The boy asked Huan to call him simply by his first name, and not Sir, since they were comrades in arms. But Huang insisted that the tamer was an important person, so he would call him Su Ge. The hero agreed to avoid further awkwardness. While eating, he asked if dangerous species were often encountered here. The blonde guy replied that here they are the middle line, so there is less pressure. He pointed behind Han at the animals they had caught in recent days. In the middle and at the end of each month, an officer arrives who is responsible for transporting rare species and counting the rewards. Han agreed that such a collection was indeed difficult without a tamed beast. The boy asked what Han's beast could do, and whether he would show it. Huang Ge began to scold this guy for his impudence and ignorance of the rules, but Han was not fazed by the request and summoned the snake dragon. The boys even cursed with delight when they saw this type of animal. Su Heng introduced his baby to his comrades. The guy said it was cool that Han had a dangerous look, the first beast. The kid didn't like something and used shock and awe. Han lightly hit the dragon with the back of his hand. He scolded him for his bad manners. The hero asked Xiao Hu if he was okay. The guy exhaled heavily and replied that everything was fine. He recognized the power of Han's beast. The blonde boy laughed, because he saw how Xiao almost shit his pants from fear. The twilight was gathering. After the meal, Su Heng met all 5 of his brothers on duty. After a short recovery, on the advice of his mentor, the boy trained his mental strength. This method was called Crystal Mind and consisted of 3 stages. The first step is to remove all distractions and create a crystalline environment. The second is working with a specific breathing rhythm. The third stage is related to the underlying spiritual hammer. Han thought that at his current rate of progress, it would take him half a year to achieve a crystal clear mind. The teacher told him the same. A monster like Sister Bai, who had cultivated pure intelligence in a month, must be as bright as the moon. Suddenly the lighthouse on the tower lit up. It was an alarm signal. Huang Ge ran out with a machine gun on his shoulder, hurrying the hero. There were guests at the 7th point. Han watched the dangerous second-rank species through binoculars. The slanted beetle had armored sickle-like claws. The guy put away his binoculars and told his friend what kind of species it was. Huan replied that this was the most common species in their sector, and killing 4 would not be a problem. Huang Ge ordered all team members to prepare for battle. He and Lao Yu will be in the machine gun position. Aven will take the forward sniper position. The man encouraged the boys and motivated them to help Su Heng kill these brats. The ability of this species was perception. Reception, imposition of armor. The bullets hit the barrier directly. The armor stopped the bullet, but when the protection broke, the bullet whistled past. Juan fired his machine gun, proud that they had finished off 1,000 at once, but the main thing to remember was not to blow their heads off. The scythe beetle's armor wasn't particularly effective, but it did significantly weaken bullets. By continuously firing a machine gun, a sniper can create a great opportunity. The hero looked through binoculars. The scythe beetle barrier was fired upon by a machine gun. When enough cracks appeared in the defense, Avon pulled the trigger. Accurate shot. This boy cut the beetle's head off. This was Su Heng's first impression of the northern border battlefield. His comrades were not master tamers, but their understanding of the situation and skill were enough to exert combat power. Thus, almost all of the so-called guests of tonight were shot. One decided to escape. Huang called Xiaohu along with him and Heng to finish off the beetle. These individuals were multiplying rapidly, so action was needed quickly. The military vehicle flew out of the base at high speed. They caught up with the beetle and overtook it, blocking its path. The beast found itself at a dead end. He had no choice but to defend himself. Su Heng got out of the car. Huang ordered Xiao to keep an eye on the border. To begin with, the hero decided to see what would happen to the beetle after the evil attack. The dragon had barely even left the talisman when it was already heading towards its target. He was about to attack. The beetle realized this and put up a barrier. The dragon flew into the beetle through the armor. The scythe beetle was thrown back. He buzzed something angrily. Han saw that the armor was working quite well, so she was able to repel the attack. Then he told the baby to use the stream of evil thoughts, the pearl of evil. Thoughts, like bullets in the form of dark spheres, flew one after another. The shelling of the barrier began. The protection has cracked. It broke through and disappeared. But the beetle remained unharmed due to the thickness of its skin. It looks like the scythe beetle is about to attack back. The dragon's next attack is shock and awe. A light purple aura gathered around the baby. The dragon opened its mouth, directing rays of awe at the beetle. The baby growled, adding dragon strength to the attack. He flapped his wing and the beetle's eye came off. The one-eyed man turned around. He decided to run away again. Su Heng used the power of the earth. The dragon stamped his paw, and the ground beneath him loosened, simultaneously rising up in stakes. The earthen rock pierced the beetle's body completely. The hero's comrades suddenly fell silent, watching what was happening. Xiao told Huang that Su Heng didn't need their help. Huangge was overcome with goosebumps at this sight. When it was all over, Xiaohu demonstrated how the hero dealt with the scythe beetle. Huangge had previously thought that Heng was out to get rich like all the other tamers, but now the man considered him a gem. The boy laughed awkwardly and said that everyone had tried their best. Suddenly someone shouted to Huan that someone was coming here. Su suggested going to have a look. The two of them, along with Huan, climbed up to the top of the fortress. We saw the command convoy below. This was strange, because the command usually arrives at noon. Su Heng looked down carefully. The commander-in-chief of the northern defensive line, Lu Ling, himself arrived. Huan and another participant greeted him, holding a cigarette between his fingers. Ling said that he and Huan had not seen each other for a long time. The man burst into tears at the slightest warning. He didn't think the commander-in-chief would remember his name. Ling waved his hand, saying that it was a 10-minute drive from the barrier to here. He approached the newcomer and asked if he was getting used to it here. Su Heng wanted to report to the commander-in-chief, and Ling asked about what. Saluting, the hero reported that he had met his comrades and settled in. The commander-in-chief scratched the hero on the head, asking him not to speak so formally. The teacher had already told him a couple of times that he had taken on a new talented student. Ling heard that last time Han didn't see him at headquarters because they missed each other. So he came to see the guy in person, and the guy's jaws dropped at the news. Huan thought that Su was an ordinary master, but it turned out that he was the burgomaster's apprentice. Ling asked why they stood like pillars. Let them sum up the results. And Su Heng should take his dragon. The teacher instructed him to monitor the boy's development. The hero thought that his mentor had forgotten about him as soon as he left the city. The guy released the snake dragon. This really impressed Ling. He asked if Han's dragon hadn't hatched less than a month ago. The hero played the fool and replied that the dragon grew up after mastering magic. Not knowing how to react, Ling said that his dragon had grown even bigger in its time. Something in the commander-in-chief's aura changed. He was about to test the dragon's fighting skills. Ling raised his palm, releasing his beast, Horned Earth Dragon. This is a dangerous species with two bloodlines, Earth and Dragon. He was bred by Ling to the level of a full-fledged, dangerous species. Thanks to its thick skin and horns, his dragon is able to withstand second-rank beasts. Horned bent down and touched the baby's head with his claw. The little dragon got scared and looked at its owner. Han asked Ling to tell his to be gentler. However, the commander-in-chief assured that his beast knows its limits. Then the hero agreed. Ling told the horned dragon that the snake dragon had not yet awakened. The dragon stamped his paw to wake the baby with a small earthquake. Even Han recoiled. But very soon his attention was captured by Ling's levitation, the advantage of spiritual power. The hero told the kid to use an evil attack and dodge. The baby approached his owner and put his paws on his shoulders. The dragon lifted Han into the air. It's easier to control the baby at altitude. The dragon used the evil pearl against the earth dragon. However, the earth dragon was too strong for that. It was Han's dream to win, but losing gracefully would have been cool. All he could do was show the results of the dragon's development. He shouted to the dragon that his advantage was speed. The baby accelerated, and the wind resistance increased. In a second, he managed to move from one place to another and throw pearls. The horned dragon didn't have time to react, and the baby took advantage of this. He rose into the air and directed a beam of evil at the enemy. A scratch appeared on the earth dragon's thick armor. Han shouted for the baby to use the power of the earth. The little dragon landed on the ground and began to recover. The next skill is Earth Dance. The baby spread its wings and let out a sound that made the earth shake. The earthen stakes approached the horned dragon. This made him angry. He hit the ground harder. This time the baby couldn't resist and flew back. He almost crashed into the stairs with his back, and Han ran down the stairs. Ling called this tactic not bad, but it was powerless against a 9th-level horned dragon. Comforting the baby, Han reminded him that he needed to use all his skills. The commander-in-chief didn't want to offend him. He just knew how snake dragons worked. Ling put his hand on Heng's shoulder and said that the teacher would be pleased. The fight ended, and Ling took Han away with him, the horned one also placing his paw on the baby's back. Winter arrived soon after the commander-in-chief's departure. It was freezing cold at the guard post. The walls here were not so high and strong, so Avin was shaking all over from the frost. Lao Yu told him, "Become a tamer then. Hung has a spiritual cover." The red light came on. The guys blew themselves up and the alarm started. Huan ran in, reporting that Plantation 25 was under attack by a group of dangerous species. Xiaohu and Su Heng will go on call. Lao Yu and Awan will stay to guard the point. The guys gathered at the same time. According to Li, the situation was truly serious. More than 20 individuals of the dangerous species, and about 5 of the less dangerous species entered the territory. All plantation workers locked themselves in the staff quarters. They have a dozen broken guns. They are fighting back somehow, but it's a matter of time. The 7th point is going to contact support and deploy the main forces. The collection must be completed by 4 in the morning. The clock is 3:40. We need to get going. The vehicles arrived at the 25th plantation. Huang Chengzhu reported that they arrived from Point 7. The man at the post said he would transmit information by radio. Then the radio announced that reconnaissance had been carried out, and that those bastards had broken through the 6th gate. Now they are in the grain area, tearing pieces out of dead bodies. All combat units and vehicles will line up in a spear shape. The radio warned that the invading dangerous species were poisonous wolves. The roar of tank impacts was heard. The operation to liberate the 25th plantation has begun. The leader standing on the rock howled, and more wolves ran. Heng said that something was wrong and asked Xiao to move away. He asked Huan if he had also heard the wild howl. The hero learned from the teacher that a poisonous wolf can evolve into an alpha wolf. Huan said in surprise that the wolves were somehow moving away. Han guessed that the leader was directing them. So it is not surprising that so many individuals broke through the fortifications. The leader of the pack released a poisonous mist. They transmitted over the radio that we needed to turn on the infrared sight and be on guard. Heng said that it was not that simple and asked Xiaohu to move back. Huanga shouted as he looked out the window. A huge wolf jumped and hit the car, shattering the glass into pieces. The beast began to bite into the metal to get to the man. Han said that it was just a companion, a shadow wolf, a special ability of the poison wolf leader. The leader's shadow was approaching. The animal crashed its body into the car body. The glass cracked and shards flew inside. Xiaohu stepped on the gas pedal. Huan opened fire, cursing as he did so. He couldn't even slightly penetrate his companion's armor. The wolf stood up on his hind legs and lifted himself off the ground. The blow knocked off part of the car body. His toothy face appeared right in front of Han. The boy summoned a snake dragon. The baby stepped forward. He affected his companion with the skill of shock and awe, and then he created the Pearl of Evil. Dark purple beads struck the wolf's head like bullets. This maneuver allowed the car to move away. The companion's carcass fell to the ground without a head. Su Heng contacted the commander to stop firing to avoid injury. He would personally deal with the poisonous wolf leader. The guy was watched through binoculars. The man, looking at Han, ordered everyone to stop firing to support military vehicle number 10. Having agreed with the commander, Han got off the vehicle. The 3 soldiers broke into a run. The fog was too thick. Huan told Heng to look away. The leader was right now destroying a military tank with his paws. The guy got out of it and screamed for help. Han rushed towards him, commanding the dragon to use an evil attack. The baby flew into the leader. The wolf fell on his back. The guy thanked Han for saving him, but it was too early to rejoice. although he didn't know that there was a wolf standing right behind him. The hero shouted that he should not stand there like a pillar, but run. The wolf waved his tail, and the boy's face instantly turned white. The leader pierced the soldier's chest. Han recoiled. He immediately pulled himself together and ordered the baby to use the earth dance. The dragon stamped his paw. The stones in the ground stood still. The leader didn't just stand there. He used a vicious strike and jumped back from the attack site, where a lump of earth formed. Han saw this as an opportunity and shouted at Xiao to shoot. Huangge and Xiaohu immediately opened fire. The leader was not only strong, but also extremely fast. He increased his speed so much that he was able to dodge the bullets, but not the dragon. The baby rushed at him and sank his teeth into the wolf's throat. Han knew the wolf would try to escape, so he followed up with shock and awe. The dragon rose into the air, its magical pressure causing the predator to tremble. The baby raised his paw up, concentrating his strength. In flight, he hit the leader on the head with his paw, and blood gushed out. That was all over with, and the boys drove back in the battered car. Huan noticed that Han was in a bad mood. The hero replied that everything was fine, he was just lost in thought. Huan said that master tamers had not been brought in before for invasions of this scale. But if it weren't for Han, there would have been more losses, and the man showed a scar from his first defensive operation. Huan said that that battle was much more terrible than this one. More than 50 people were killed and wounded in it. An armored car was smashed to scrap metal by a massive steel gorilla in its mature form. In the end, Lord Cao, the then commander-in-chief, personally killed the beast and ended the bloody battle. Huangge handed the hero a flask, saying that it would make him feel better. The boy thanked the man. Huan said that they were ordinary people here, living like floating leaves. No one could guarantee tomorrow. But if they were also master tamers, they would have the opportunity to control destiny. The hero put his hand on his comrade's shoulder, saying that there was no point in thinking about such things. It was better to go back and dine on Avon's food. Huan agreed and even offered to eat more. The battle to save the plantation was the first time Su Heng faced death. He was a true fighter who understood that only effort can help preserve oneself and protect others. Over the next month, Su engaged in special training for himself and the dragon. The snake dragon grew up, its skill increased 100-fold, and when Su Heng was deep in training, an old acquaintance of his arrived at the 7th post. Commander-in-Chief Ling riding a super dangerous species. Seeing the beast, the guy froze in admiration. Ling jumped off the lion and ran to Han. He heard that the boy had taken part in the battle for the plantation and had done well. Han remembered that Ling was supposed to come here every month, but it had been less than that. Ling made an excuse that he had a couple of free days, so he decided to see Han. He suggested that the guy summon a dragon so that they could make up for lost time. Naturally, Su did not refuse. The little dragon has grown quite large. Ling's jaw nearly dropped when he saw the progress. Han said that he used the uniform the teacher gave him. Maybe it suits the baby well. Turning pale, Ling asked that the dragon be taken back. Once the snake dragon reaches the middle stage, as the teacher said, Han's training at the front will end. Huangge and Awan burst into tears upon hearing this. They couldn't let go of their beloved Han so quickly. The guy asked if he could ask the dragon to sit with them. Huan immediately replied that it was actually Avan's idea. The boys laughed and joked, sadly realizing that this was their last day together. The next day, Su Heng returned to the tower. In the training room, he fell to the floor from exhaustion. Lin Fu, the castle master's assistant, praised the boy for his endurance. After the training, he congratulated the mayor on a good student. Zhou Gu didn't think that Heng's internship would end so quickly. Han said that he worked hard. The growth and spiritual development of the beast was clearly felt through training. And it was much better than 3 years ago, when he sat waiting for even the slightest progress from the egg. This experience could not be called difficult. The teacher acknowledged that Han had exceeded his expectations, which gave him confidence in the boy's future. The hero asked if they had agreed to transfer him to another post. In fact, the teacher wanted the boy to take part in the Six Lands tournament. It is held once a year and is considered a duel. And this is for the opportunity to get into the ruins of the Bloody Forest. Heng asked if he had to go to these ruins, and Zhou explained that they were very different from the usual ones. Outside, the ruins of the Blood Forest are separated by a hidden energy barrier. They are occupied by an extremely powerful and terrifying race of beasts. When 6 representatives from each base joined forces and attacked the master of the ruins, the beast was forced to make an agreement. Tamers can only get in once a year, so Han asked if he had a chance. Zhu laughed and replied that the fool should not worry. The area open to people is only the outer part of the ruins. The core is not fully open, and it is truly a treasure. Su Heng promised that he would try to get there. The teacher said that besides him, 4 more people would be competing, and tomorrow he would arrange for Han to meet them. Then he will begin special training. The guy asked where this will take place. Zhou winked, saying it would be in the Grizzly Forest. On the southern section of the defensive line, there is a large black forest that covers a large area. This forest is home to an astonishing number of bears, with bodies up to 4 meters long and weighing a ton. They are not dangerous, as they are not able to use energy, but sometimes bears appear that are striking in their fighting power. So Han asked the teacher a logical question, namely, wasn't this forest dangerous? Zhu replied that he would understand when he got there. Han's allowance is almost gone, and the next payment is more than half a month away. To maintain the dragon's current growth rate, there should be no shortage of food. Postponing the advance payment each time is not a long-term solution. So Han started thinking about making money. Pet healer tamers are able to heal illnesses and wounds, and they earn a good income. Plant-related pets can increase crop yields. Aquatic and electric pet tamers also collect resources, but with the help of the ancient dragon, a more effective way can be found. So the hero went to the trading market. Initially, he wanted to take advantage of the opportunity, but found nothing. Suddenly, someone from one of the stalls shouted that they would buy black fat at a high price. Han became interested in this. The man looked at the guy from under the magazine, asking if he had any goods. The guy just wanted to ask why they needed it. The man waved it off, saying that the guy shouldn't care what he was doing it for. Han read from the magazine that 1 milliliter of black fat was equal to 83 coins. It seems the hero has found a way to strike it rich. According to the ancient dragon's records, the mucus from the surface of the black octopus is mixed with other ingredients. This is how black fat is obtained, although the book said that the dark tree as an ingredient had long since died out. Han figured out the thickener and decided to cook the fat at home. He asked the dragon to press the pedal. The baby, whom he named Xiaoxi, pressed his paw. A fire flared up inside the metal cauldron. The finishing touch was ready. Among the 13 departments of the 5 bureaus, there is one institution with a special status, the Department of Hazardous Biological Research. The research department manages 3 institutes that purchase black thick fat in bulk. Selling it can bring in a lot of profit. But if Han immediately floods the market with that much fat, questions may arise. The ebony tree is not only a rare species, but also grows slowly, and many herbivores like to eat its branches, which is why the tree is not very tall. From one ebony tree a meter in height, no more than a few tens of millimeters of resin can be collected. So Han couldn't think of anything better to do than find a store that was buying fat, sell it all to him, and run away. He found the Hong Trading House. In total, the main character was able to obtain 30 liters of black fat. At the store, he asked the woman if she would take them for 250,000 coins. She couldn't refuse, but asked where the guy got so much. Han sharply put his sword to her throat, telling her that it was better not to ask. The guy understood that this money couldn't be spent right now. It was better to go to the fortress and exchange it for ingredients. At the same time, meet up with your teammates. Some of the guys turned out to be familiar with Su Heng. Wang Xun participated in special training with him, and he thought the guy was mediocre in appearance. But in the end, this is what happened. Luo Chong said with envy that Heng was lucky, because the owner of the castle wanted him to become the captain of the competition. Rana said that last year the captain was Li Han, who took 4th place, and before him it was Bai Susu. The girl asked if they really doubted the owner's decision. They all knew Su Heng, but they underestimated him. Even the guy's pet is a snake dragon. While the discussions were in full swing, Su Heng was invited inside. Lin Fu himself decided not to interfere with the young people getting to know each other. Wang Xun said meaningfully that the captain had arrived. Rana laughed, adding that the captain only had one beast. Han remained silent. The atmosphere here was oppressive. The purple-haired girl introduced herself as Lin Yuxin, who had become a tamer over a year ago. At the moment, she only had 2 pets, a flower ghost tiger and an electric swallow. Su Heng shook her hand and told her that he had become a tamer 2 months ago, and that he only had 1 pet. Luo Chong chimed in, calling it cool that the guy became a tamer in 2 months. Han turned to him and replied that the guy was right. He was much better than Chong. Luo put his hand forward, summoning a red-scaled dinosaur. The dinosaur with dense armor showed itself. Chong asked sarcastically, as if Han was really scared. The hero assessed the situation soberly against such a brute. The snake dragon really had little chance. Then Han played dumb and said that the dinosaur's development was good, but this species was not of the highest danger level. Rana stopped Chong, reminding him that this meeting was arranged by the owner of the castle. Han said that the castle's owner would not scold him, but here's what the garrison would say about Chong summoning the beast inside. The guy hissed irritably. He looked at Han from under his brows and advised him not to be seen by him at competitions. However, the hero did not even have the desire to unite to fight for the honor of the Black Lanterns. Han turned around and said that it would be better if he didn't see teammates like that. The door slammed behind him and Chong cursed loudly. Wang Xun calmly said that they would still have a chance to deal with him. The teacher told Han that tomorrow they would go to the grizzly forest. The boy sighed, thinking that his dissatisfied comrades were also part of the test. The hero sat down on the railing, preparing to take full advantage of his special training in the grisly forest. The next morning there was a knock on Su-heng's door. The head of the Black Lantern Guard shouted that he would accompany Han to training. Through the closed window, the guy shouted for them to come in. Zhang Cheng spread the map on the table. He showed where the black fire was located on it. Next to the grisly forest there was a small settlement of Himalayan bears. The distance to this village of Zheleznogorsk is 150 kilometers, but only half of the way is a repaired road. They may encounter troubles along the way, so the journey will take a day or two. Zhang asked if there were any questions. Han didn't have them, so they set out on their journey immediately. Black fire is located in the Grey Desert, just like the village of Iron in the Grizzly Forest. It is a vast territory with dozens of large settlements, many small ones and nomadic camps. Zhang Cheng asked Hung to wait a little while he reported his arrival. The deputy mayor spoke on the radio. Zhang introduced himself as the commander of the 5th Tactical Group, a bodyguard for the Black Lantern squads. They needed to enter the city to rest. Zhang called the last code. The guards met them at the gate. Zhang noticed that old Andrew was in a good mood and asked him to arrange a good stay for them. Andrew asked them to rely on them and invited them inside. Items for taming beasts were delivered to Han's room. Zhang introduced the hero to Chen Hong, who would be his private. Su summoned the dragon. Xiaoxi, who had become enormous in size, appeared. Han stroked the baby and told him to eat something. The Black Lantern's faces twisted at the sight of the tamed beast. They thought that this monster would eat the canned food along with the box. The boys froze, watching the dragon. Xiaoxi opened his mouth and began to lift the canned food using his breath, opening it. He stood up and sucked in all the food like a vacuum cleaner. When Si finished, he glanced at the Black Lanterns. The boys looked at each other at the suspicion in the beast's eyes. Chen Han explained that the tea house was different from the Black Lantern, as there was no curfew. Their friends invited them to have fun, but Han didn't want to. He asked for a guide. Suddenly, a little girl opened the door, hearing about the guide. She apologized, explaining that she didn't mean to eavesdrop. Grandpa Andrew asked her to bring Han some souvenirs. Chen Han confirmed that the girl was Andrew's granddaughter, and that she was the best fit to be a guide. The hero leaned towards her and thanked her for her help. The architecture in the tea house was very beautiful. Most of the roofs of the houses are triangular in shape, and traditionally the residents paint the houses black and brown. According to Guide Reina, there are hundreds of such buildings. All the houses and shops are located on the mountain slopes. A little higher up is a tiny castle where the local government meets. Reina suddenly remembered that there would be animal fights today. She suggested watching. Han was surprised. Soldiers and civilians catch wild animals and then arrange fights in the arena. If an animal is injured or dies in battle, its meat is not wasted but used for food. Today they will bring a special animal that no one has ever seen in the tea monastery before. Reina told him about the adult tiger, and Han thought it would be useful to observe. So the hero agreed. At the box office, they purchased 2 tickets to the arena. The woman asked if this was Reina's boyfriend. She was curious who this cute boy was. Reina flushed and asked her aunt not to say stupid things. The girl grabbed Han by the hand and pulled him along quickly. In the arena, the people recognized Reina and greeted her. They offered the girl to sit next to them, but she politely refused. Han guessed that this little girl was a celebrity here. The man was pleasantly surprised by Reina's arrival. The girl said in a businesslike manner that she should come here to accompany the guest. It would be good to find them better seats. The man recognized the young man. There were rumors about him. Suddenly his gaze froze. He saw the tamer's ring and decided that it was better not to quarrel with such a person. The man greeted Su-heng. The trumpets sounded in the arena. The presenter announced the start of animal fights. She showed off a jungle tiger, more than 3 meters long and weighing more than 600 kilograms. The tiger, locked in a cage, growled menacingly. The audience liked this beast. Some people were indignant and impatient to see the fight. Reina shouted from the arena, wishing him luck. The presenter asked the audience to be patient. It was time to introduce the second participant. She pointed to the enclosure. The guards threw a small cage into the arena. When it fell, the metal cover flew off. The poor little animal felt dizzy. When he turned around, he saw a huge predator. The little animal jumped out of the cage like a bullet. He dug his claws into the door. People laughed at this. It was the first time they had seen such a strange creature. But Han didn't laugh. Instead, he moved closer to the railing. When the tiger pounced, the little animal ran away in fear. Luckily, he managed to escape. But there was no way out of the arena. The little animal was trembling, standing almost against the wall. People were surprised at how fast this creature was. The child asked his mother what kind of animal it was. According to ancient legends, there are 4 dangerous and rare species of dragons, and for their power, they were called deities. These include mysterious, fabulous, wonderful, and mythical species. Han had no doubt that such reaction and speed were not typical of an ordinary beast. The golden mark on the forehead and the rounded shape of the body spoke of a mysterious appearance. Dragons of this species are natural-born treasure hunters. They are extremely dangerous, but not aggressive. They are quite rare. Their tracks can usually be seen in very dangerous places. Han suddenly asked Reina if he could buy this animal. The girl replied that Uncle Red bought it from the chief winemaker, and all the animals here belong to Uncle. The guy asked to be taken to him. Uncle Red told the little girl that this was impossible, because you can't break the rules of the fight. The girl literally begged the man. Red added that it's not about money. Reina knew that her uncle had bought the animal for 1,000 steel coins, and she was ready to pay 4,000. The man said that in his family, the rules of the arena had never been violated. Han asked if the man was worried about the bets he had already made. Red didn't think the animal was that valuable, so he asked if it was really important for the guest to get it. The hero replied that he didn't want to break the rules, so he had a proposal. An address was made to the arena's guests over the loudspeaker. Naturally, people started to get indignant since they had bought tickets. Red asked people to calm down and listen to him. Firstly, the cost of the ticket will be returned along with the bets. Secondly, there will be an incredible battle in the arena today. The man introduced the new member, Su Heng. People were only more excited by the fact that a man would fight a beast. The bloodthirsty tiger let out a roar. The beast ran at the guy as if he were a red rag. Someone was afraid for Han. The mother closed the child's eyes. Reina screamed that Han would definitely win. The hero summoned his snake dragon. The tiger suddenly froze at the sight of Xiaoxi. His body began to tremble and the beast retreated back. The public was surprised. The last time the tamer was seen here was 3 months ago. The girl rejoiced from the balcony. Han gave her a thumbs up from above. Uncle Red was amazed. He wiped the sweat from his face with a handkerchief, thinking that it was a good thing he had been polite to this guy. The man looked at little Reina and smiled at the thought that she had a new friend. Silence reigned in the arena. Han gave the command to the dragon to attack. The aura of evil alone made the tiger almost cry. Suddenly the beast saw how the opponent's attention switched. He looked back and saw a small animal running around the arena. The guy thought that this speed was related to physical fitness. Han ordered to attack this animal. Sai jumped into the air. The tiger clamped his head with his paws, and the animal froze. He turned sharply and quickly broke into a run. Xiaoxi used the second stage of power, acceleration. His body seemed to be enveloped in air, enhancing his flight. The dragon was already reaching out with its paws to the little animal. Xiao struck the ground with his paw, but did not catch the beast. Then, on command, the dragon used its dragon power. The power of his skill rose high above the arena. The wind blew on the people and they became scared. The poor little animal couldn't move. Eventually, Xiao managed to capture the animal. The boy mumbled something sadly. Already in the office, Red expressed his surprise. It was the first time he had seen anything like this. Han apologized for his tactlessness, but asked how the man had managed to catch such a fast animal. Red asked if the guy was referring to him and pointed to the cage. It was the inhabitant's skill in winemaking that attracted the attention of the Black Lantern. The one who caught this animal is the old winemaker from the monastery, Kuman. They say this little guy got into the wine cellar and ruined several barrels. For a week, Kuman and his apprentices did not take any action. But one day, a winemaker discovered a drunk, peacefully sleeping animal in a barrel, after which Kuman sold it to a man. The beast was so stupid that he got drunk, so he was caught. At the door, Su Heng told Reina that he owed her. The girl was glad to help and advised the tamer to get some proper rest. The hero promised to bring Reina something interesting next time. In the room, Su Heng lit a candle. He looked at the little animal and asked what it all meant. If he hadn't saved him in the arena, the animal would have been dead. The bars of the cage were no thicker than a little finger, and the dragon would have easily broken them. Representatives of this mysterious species are indeed non-aggressive, and now Han will have to take care of it. There was no information in the books about what this beast ate, so Su decided to let it fast for a couple of days. And then he won't care what exactly there is. The tamer's talisman lit up. Han was so busy that he completely forgot to feed the dragon. The guy put a box of canned goods on the table. He opened them one by one and poured the contents into a wooden bowl. Han stirred the food, thinking that if C ate more than usual, they would reach the Iron Village by tomorrow evening. The dragon's mouth began to water when it saw the food. Heng summoned Xiaoxi. The little dragon appeared right in front of the food bowl. He bowed his head and began to eat his food contentedly. The animal became upset and turned away in tears. Han noticed this. The guy took out a spoon and asked if the animal really wanted to eat too. The hero scooped up some of the dragon's porridge with a spoon. He presented the device to the cage, treating the animal. Han didn't think that the treasure hunter liked the same food as the snake dragon. The animal ate everything down to the last crumb. Han wanted to get some supplements for the little animal. But when he turned around, the wooden bowl was empty. She had swallowed it all. Then the boy said that if necessary, the dragon would eat less so that there would be enough for two. She got angry, but Heng spanked him with a spoon, saying that the dragon was now the older brother, so he should behave appropriately. The next morning, Su Heng said goodbye to Reina and headed to Iron Village. This village is much larger than the tea monastery. There is a metallurgical plant there. There was also talk of some kind of dependence of the village on the grizzly forest. But because of the law, Zhang Cheng couldn't say it directly, so he had to wait for Heng to understand it himself. Upon entering, Su Heng immediately smelled the smell of burning steel. Zhang Cheng sent the hero to the center of the village for a management meeting. And then Han realized what Zhang had been silent about. The village of Iron turned out to be a backwater town. This settlement was subservient to the Black Lantern, supplying them with minerals mined in the grizzly forest. Han was shocked to find that the grizzly forest turned out to be the teacher's property, or rather, his animal's territory. They were drinking wine in the conference room of the management committee. Han had assumed that the teacher was unusually strong, but he didn't think it was that strong. According to the committee, there were 4 masters of the grizzly forest. They are all Black Lantern people, but pets are no less important to them than money and power. It would be foolish to go into the grizzly forest and ask the handlers to spot a treasure hunter. Suddenly, Han asked the little boy if he would be his companion. The awkward reaction made the boy tell the animal to forget about it. He suggested eating first, and Xiaoxi immediately woke up. From the boy's house came the cries of 2 animals who could not share food. Han planned to go to the grizzly forest, but eventually decided to stay in T-Town. The reason is simple. He needs to find a way to establish a mental connection with the beast. However, it turned out not to be so simple. Each time the beast's consciousness pushed Han away. Even in the ancient book, he could not find any records. So the boy decided to take the animal with him on a treasure hunt. However, even this idea caused irritation. Han scolded the little animal for chasing butterflies and beetles all morning instead of searching. He even threatened to feed him to the dragon if he found out he was an ordinary animal. The animal released a fiery aura in rage. He pointed his paw back. The beast pointed to the door where the Surabaya hormone was sold, which made the guy blush. He asked the little boy if he wanted to say that he smelled treasure here. Han thought that mystical energy was seething in the animal's body. He didn't want to go anywhere, as it could turn out to be a setup. Hearing that Han was going to feed the dragon, the little animal waved its hand vigorously. The guy asked if there was any treasure there. Han was outraged that he had to help get it. The animal drooped. However, the guy loved to do good deeds, but the beast had to promise something. The kid presented a whip and a collar. The hero laughed and said that it was just a mental connection, not subordination. The little animal, blushing, extended its fist. That's what they agreed on. Without a foundation of attachment, it is impossible to establish a mental connection, and it must be built mutually. At the bar, the bartender mixed a signature drink for the guest. Han walked through the door where it was written about the hormone. The bartender immediately offered it. However, the guy just came to look around. Such visitors really irritated the locals. The bartender whispered to the men that he was seeing this guy for the first time. Perhaps he was a mercenary, or a relative of a soldier. The animal pointed its paw at the wheel for Han. Su called the baby a scavenger huntsman, not a treasure hunter. The wheel was crushed and took the shape of a toilet. The hero blushed when he saw such an object in the pub, but the shape-changing stone was written about in an ancient book. Transformation stones are the primary material needed to progress through the ranks of a powerful dragon. Han never thought he would ever encounter something he never even dreamed of. He stroked the baby. The bartender couldn't resist asking if the guy was a guest or a troublemaker. Su calmly replied that he wanted to buy this stone and asked how much it cost. This surprised the guy. His boss found the stone in the wild ruins, but experts deemed it useless. The bartender brushed it off by saying that the stone was very expensive. He thought that the guest couldn't afford it. Smiling, Han asked to name the price. The guy shouted that the stone was worth 10,000 steel coins. The hero took 3 gold coins out of his pocket and threw them on the table. The bartender blushed. There was too much of this money. Han's face darkened, and he said that they had to deliver this stone to him. The bartender noticed a tamer's ring on the guest's finger. He and the men he was whispering to began to beg for forgiveness. Su only expressed hope that this would not happen to anyone else. The 3 of them nodded enthusiastically in agreement. There are 2 ways a master can tame a beast in a short period of time. The first is through force control. The second way is when the animal itself agrees, or even wants to be tamed. And the beast seeking treasure fell into the second category. For 3 days, Su Heng puzzled over how to tame the new beast. They went on a treasure hunt, ate all sorts of delicious food, and Han even told the baby a bedtime story. The guy used a trick, saying that he would collect the treasures he received in one place. Now the beast treats the hero like an angel. However, Su Heng trains him like a dog. To speed up the addiction process, the guy set aside time every day for training. It was the snake dragon who trained the baby by chasing him. Whenever the baby was being abused, Han would step in and stop it. The boy scolded Xiaoxi for bullying him. But the dragon didn't understand why he was being scolded, since his master himself had asked him to chase the baby. Being saved by Han caused the baby's trust to skyrocket. the hero's plan came to fruition. And very soon the guy found himself on the outskirts of the grizzly forest. Jiang Cheng said that if Hung crossed the river, he would cross the outer boundary of the grizzly forest. They met him there, and the guy thanked them for their help. Less than half an hour had passed when the tamer appeared on the horizon. The master of the grizzly forest was a girl named Hei Ju, with a particularly dangerous type of beast. The boys saluted their mistress. Han raised his hand in greeting. The burgomaster informed Ju that his student would arrive in the forest to undergo training. She thought Han would arrive earlier, and the hero apologized. The Black Lantern asked what to do with the luggage. The girl asked the monkey to come out. A huge monkey emerged from the talisman. The silver gibbon was considered a very dangerous species. Heijo asked him to deliver the things to the base. The Black Lanterns led the monkey master away. The girl offered Han a ride to the base on her tiger. But the guy preferred to fly on a snake dragon. The hero called him. Joe was amazed and said that Heng was worthy of being the mayor's apprentice. She wanted to see what he could do, so I rushed forward. Heng told Shi that they needed to catch up with her. Suddenly he felt the dragon's speed increase. Xiao took off sharply. Han barely managed to grab hold of it. At the base, Hung Jo knocked on the gate. She told them to open the door for her quickly. Greenhouse asked from the window if she couldn't be more feminine. He opened the gate for her, asking the girl to take the key next time. The guy said he was busy, and Shu started scolding him. He felt awkward and said that he would always open the gate for her. The girl hit him on the head. She ordered the guy to take care of the luggage and the placement of his younger one. Zhou said that currently only she and Shui Yu are at the base. Initially there were a few sergeants, but they could not withstand the harsh conditions of the forest. The head of the grizzly forest base, Lord Shu Kui, set out to track down the dangerous creature. Another master was waiting for Han to arrive at the base, intending to take him with him for training. But he started it himself because of the guy's delay. But Han himself didn't know that he would be delayed. Han said everything was fine. First they went to her room. The guy froze near the wall with stuffed dangerous animals. The girl told Han to turn around. The hero said that the decor was unusual. Then Chu asked if she looked like a local servant who did nothing. The girl patted the bed next to her, inviting Han to sit. Seeing the boy's stupor, she said that she would not tease him. Chu told him about the training of masters in the grizzly forest. It's not just about honing combat experience. She then asked if Han had heard of energy fruits. The guy was surprised. However, the grizzly forest is rich in bear fruits, which increase the strength and endurance of dangerous creatures. The girl walked up to the wall and pulled the curtains aside. There was a map on the wall, and Chu said that the fruits were not easy to obtain, because all the trees with this fruit are occupied by warrior bears. Using a token received from the forest master, the tamer can challenge the tree owner. But if someone is not connected to the Blacklight Tower, all the grizzlies of the forest and even the masters will definitely attack him. In the forest itself, the hero encountered a bear. Lin Zhen and Heng watched the dragon from the tree. The dragon needed to defeat the grizzly, but Han didn't think it would be easy. The guy explained that the grizzly accepts a challenge from the one whose aura is weaker. The grizzly let out a bear roar. Xiaoxi stood firm, and he even mocked the bear a little, which made him angry. The hero didn't know that his dragon could do this. Han asked if the grizzly had accepted the challenge. Lin said yes, but it would be hard for the dragon, as he had no experience with that species. The animals rushed towards each other. She activated the dragon's power. The bear had no intention of retreating. They clashed in a fight, and so far the advantage was on the bear's side. One blow sent the little dragon flying back and falling. The bear ran up to him and already stretched out his paws. Lin shouted that Xiao was in danger. Han stopped him and asked him to wait. He believed that the dragon needed to gain experience. Xiao frowned at the grizzly, using suppression. To his surprise, the bear began to tremble. But he was not going to give in to this and jumped sharply. The dragon ran back, then took off, intensifying its attack. Sharp claws slashed through the flesh. Xiao left a wound on the grizzly bear's paw. Lin Zhen relaxed, but said that the desire to break through the grizzly's defense was not enough. The hero agreed that their defense was incredible. However, this is the bear fruit effect. Su Heng shouted to the dragon that he could do it. But the grizzly was not so simple. He could heal wounds. Although the dragon was no pushover, the beast collected a clot of pearls, and he threw it at the bear. There wasn't a single scratch left on the grizzly. He broke the dead tree and raised it above his head. The trees flew at the dragon one after another. Xiao was able to dodge. He built a protective wall of trees. The bear reared up and growled. Jen noticed how the grizzly had grown larger, but it was the characteristic of this species to feign weakness. Not every bear could master this technique. The guy said that the dragon would not be able to win. However, Heng had never received a call for help from Xiao before. He was confident in him. A large grizzly shadow covered the dragon and he began to panic. The bear swung his paw. Then Xiao switched to the second attack speed. The grizzly bear hit the tree trunks. Lin was tense. He wanted to stop this fight. Grizzly used a bear rush. Xiao had an idea. He slapped his tail on the ground, creating an earth dance. The earthen stakes rose up at speed, sharply slowing the bear down. The beast fell on its side and rolled on the ground in a ball. When he crashed into the tree, Xiao even laughed. Jen was surprised and asked why the dragon had not defeated him earlier. Han waved it off, saying he was lucky. The branch broke, and Lin was left hanging in the air, forgetting that the hero did not have enough spiritual energy. He put his finger between his lips and whistled. A blood-tailed hawk flew in response to the whistle. The bird grabbed the hero by the shoulders. As soon as he lowered Han down from the tree, Lin expressed his admiration for the dragon. Lin Jin summoned the lotus hatter. It is a medicinal animal that takes root in the soil to absorb nutrients. One of the rules of calling a grizzly in the forest was to heal the grizzly's wounds after the battle. The bear began to come to his senses. The first thing he saw was a dragon mocking him and a giggling lotus. This made him angry. Jen stopped the grizzly by saying that the beast would have to add one more fruit for the second battle. The bear exhaled loudly and turned away. Han was stunned and asked where the fruit was. Jen called the guy with him. They followed the bear, who led them to a tree with fruit. The little dragon happily approached the tree. Grizzly bit into one, glaring at Xiao. He laid the fruit on the ground. The dragon felt uneasy from the drool left on the fruit. But he had no choice but to take the fruit. The bear laughed at him. Jen said that there was a real treasure in the center of the grizzly's den. The hero was surprised by the size of the bear fruit. It was smaller than Han imagined. The guy asked how to use it, and the answer was simple. The pet must eat the fruit. Once collected, the mysterious energy begins to evaporate, so it is important to eat it quickly. Heng extended his palm with the Xiao fruit. The dragon had a psychological horror. He turned away proudly, which Han was outraged by. The boy asked Lin for some water, and he joked that Han wasn't going to cut up the fruit after that. The hero washed the bear fruit from saliva, and he threw it to the dragon. Lin said that it was better to wait until the fruit's energy was absorbed. He took a step forward, calling upon the lion and the python. From the talisman emerged a spider python and the king of beasts. Lin ordered them to guard the dragon while he consumed the fruit. Han smiled and thanked him for it. When Xiao absorbed the fruit, a yellow circle appeared underneath it. Lin explained that if there are no accompanying animals, it is better to consume the fruit in a shelter. This is because absorbing energy requires a lot of effort. Heng began to worry about Xiao. Jin explained that the dragon's body produces a stress response due to rapid cellular transformation. The fruit's effect revealed itself. The dragon turned yellow in some places and became even larger. 30 days have passed. During this time, Xiao not only grew in size, but also approached adulthood. In terms of strength and endurance, he is no weaker than a dragon at a late stage. In the past 10 days, he ate 10 bear fruits. The dragon was born with the talent of mockery and provocation. In 13 days, Xiao fought almost 10 grizzlies, with a 70% win rate. The reason for the success is the hero behind the scenes, a beast searching for treasure. Almost all the bears that the dragon challenged were chosen by him. During the entire time, Lin Zhen was only able to collect one fruit, but Heng had the advantage. Lin has not yet figured out this secret, the treasure hunter. The guy jumped on Xiao and they flew across the gorge. Having made their way through the bushes, they found a battle. The armored wolf is a dangerous species of medium level. It could not be in this area, therefore it belongs to someone. Soon Han noticed a masked man controlling a wolf. It turned out to be a heavily armored wolf, although its evolution is almost impossible. Looking at his body, one could tell that the beast's level was perfect. The armored wolf leaped at the grizzly, biting into its flesh, and threw the bear into the water. Even Xiao became wary. Castle Blacklight was created hundreds of years ago, and in the process, they made enemies. The competing force is comparable to Blakelight, with a large number of masters. They control the armored wolf environment the way Blakelight controls the grizzly forest. Now they have appeared here and come for the fruits. The guy approached the fruit tree with a syringe. He stuck a needle into the fruit and collected the juice in a syringe. Han was distracted by the scout beast. The guy cursed mentally. The armored wolf sat next to its owner on guard. Suddenly the singing of a scout was heard. The guy didn't know that someone was hiding in the bushes. He asked the wolf to see who was there. The tamer mounted the beast and they rode off. A couple of minutes later they spotted observers. It turned out to be difficult to escape from the armored wolf. Han decided to sneak into the forest to hide his identity. The guy reported on the radio that a poacher had been discovered. It turned out that the device was discharged. Han didn't need to charge it. Anyway, he was going to break the news about this guy. They took off with the little dragon. Xiao applied acceleration. Then the tamer ordered the wolf to catch up and kill the little rat and its pet. The wolf stopped abruptly. He created a shadow tread and his speed increased 100-fold. They were practically on the hero's heels. Heng gave Xiao the command to use second gear and move towards the giant trees. The dragon practically reared up. The advantage of a speed attack is that the beast can change direction, and since the wolf can't, he will get great pleasure from crashing into trees. Heng believed that the best option was to lure the poacher to Lin Zhen. Indeed, on the way the wolf crashed into a couple of tree trunks. Fallen trees slowed the pursuit. The guy admitted that this rat can run away. He raised his hand with the talisman. A thunder tiger appeared, having 3 attributes. The man jumped onto him from the wolf. He showed the tiger where to run. The thunder beast was much faster than the wolf. He was already on the hero's tail. Leaping into the air, the tiger prepared a thunderous attack. Xiaoxi couldn't speed up at this time. It hit him, the attack leaving its mark on his flesh. Han saw that this tiger was in the prime of life. He covered the dragon's wound with his palm, realizing that if the tiger didn't catch up with them, it would kill them. The hero had an idea. He asked the treasure hunter to find the bear's territory nearby. They needed help. Xiao abruptly turned from the direction at speed. Han gave him the command to use the earth dance. The beast waved its tail and the soil turned to stone. This slowed down the pursuer, but the land was no obstacle to him. The armored wolf cleared the way, breaking through the stones. Thunder Tiger surged forward again. The guy caught up with Han, and he asked with a grin if the guy was really thinking of running away. They disappeared. The tamer ordered the tiger to find them. The beast sniffed. His fur suddenly stood on end and his breathing became labored. The tiger stood in the middle of the forest. Red eyes glowed from the dark cave before them. The tamer didn't just run into a grizzly bear, and on their leader. The boy shouted at the tiger to run. Heng and Xiao heard a noise somewhere in the forest. The hero knew that the leader could summon the pack, but without them he was incredibly strong. It was necessary to return to base quickly to report the incident. After all, it is unknown how many more fruits will be stolen. Xiao used a speed attack and they almost got hit. Han's eyes widened. The dragon managed to take off. He landed on a tree branch. The guy below said he was sorry the little bastard had gotten away. Han visibly tensed up and asked how the guy found him. It was all about the Thunder Tiger's star mantle, which allows one to find a target anywhere. The hero cursed mentally. The guy praised Han's tactics, but it wouldn't be difficult for masters of his level to escape from a bear. Unlike the hero, the guy could use a scaly lizard. The conversation ended. The tamer ordered the tiger to kill Han. The beast made a high jump. As he flew, a look of surprise appeared on the tiger's face. He saw Xiao's true strength. Han had planned in advance to create the illusion that Xiao was a lizard, so that the dragon's power would suddenly burst forth at the right moment. The guy managed to make a smokescreen from the waste from the black fat. He threw her off. The black smoke made the beast shed tears and the tamer close his eyes. At that moment, the dragon quickly took off. Heng shouted to Xiao that this was their last chance. This even further provoked the tamer. He mounted the Thunder Tiger and followed them. Han jumped when he heard the guy's voice behind him. The tamer planned to kill the hero first and then his pet. Suddenly a fire shield appeared above Han. This barrier pushed away the tamer along with the tiger. Han was annoyed that the teacher hadn't told him about such a skill earlier. The pursuer couldn't believe that Han had the ability of the highest dangerous species. His ring was first class, even among strong masters, so envy appeared. Han panicked and asked the dragon what he was worth. The stalker didn't care who the guy was, as long as he didn't report the incident. He summoned a white mountain lion. Han almost went into hysterics from the number of enemy beasts. The guy in the mask continued calling the hero a bastard, but for some reason Su didn't run away. With a sinister grin, Han asked the boy if he recognized the animal. The green hummingbird was Lin Zhen's scout. Just when he had guessed, Zhen himself appeared on the horizon. He landed in front of Han riding a black panther. The pursuer asked if he had enough strength to stop him. However, Lin not only dares to stop, he dares to kill. This bastard from the City of Fire. The city's full name is Sinfire. It has always been a rival of Blacklight. Their leader has a deep connection with the wolf subclass. It is not surprising that their main pets are wolves. The pursuer laughed in Lin's face. He thought that the guy didn't have enough strength. He summoned 2 more wolves to tear Jen apart. The guy himself wanted to see if Lin would be so cool when he died. However, they will be looking at how good Lin is. A huge mountain python and a moon leopard appeared in front of the wolves and the lion. The armored wolf was already reaching out its claws towards Zhen. Han became frightened and leaned forward. A fiery blow to the face. Zhen's giant avatar blocked the blow. The guy from the City of Fire was speechless. This avatar is a particularly dangerous species. It turned out that the avatar appeared along with the python, but Zhen used stealth magic. Han saw for the first time what it meant to be a master of the 5 attributes. The wolf's armor burned for a while. The beast let out an aggressive roar. The pursuer said that Zhen had a rare pet. No wonder he was so brave. Their intelligence knows about Lin's pets, but they haven't received information about the avatar. Zhen replied that since the guy found out, he should be killed. The pursuer said that Lin was daydreaming. He was convinced that the heavily armored wolf would kill his avatar. Shadow step attack. The fanged maw aimed at the fire pet. The wolf had already grabbed him with its paws, but it was an illusion. The avatar had split in 2. Energy accumulated in the avatar's hands. He punched the beast. The wolf was knocked out. Heng didn't know that Brother Lin was so strong. The masked man asked if Zhen really thought this blow was serious for the armored wolf. He made the beast's armor heavier. Lin ordered the avatar to set the wolf on fire. The fiery power was now concentrated in one fist. The pursuer used Shadow Step. Lin used Firestorm. The wolf's claws became more active. Two dangerous species created an explosion. The avatar's fire was so scorching that the armored wolf barely stood firm. The masked man was shocked to see that Lin's avatar had 6th level enlightenment abilities. He decided to use a different tactic. He summoned a fiery, scaly beast. Lin asked if the guy really thought he could deal with him by summoning trash. However, the guy didn't need to fight Zhen, just delay him. He spent a lot of energy, so he asked his guys if they wanted to kill a couple of people. Zhen managed to inform Mr. Shu. It all depends on who comes first. The pursuer asked if the boys had another plan, because he was going to trap them. The scaly beast jumped. Zhen said he could delay them a little longer. The avatar struck with fiery enlightenment. The attack was intensified by the storm. The fire around thickened and turned red. The pursuer repelled the attacks with a fiery exit. A wind vortex formed. Xiaoxi appeared from it. The guy from Sinfire was outraged that the rat dared to come close. Han dropped a nasty bomb. The dragon simultaneously released a bullet of evil thoughts with the dance of the earth. The enemy cursed. He was stunned by surprise, and there was an explosion. However, when the smoke cleared, a fighting chimpanzee was standing next to him. The guy laughed, because his help arrived faster. The guy asked his friend to deal with them quickly so he could leave in time. The bald man was riding a particularly dangerous species, a manticore. This creature released poison. The thorns dug into Xiao's tail. The poison instantly penetrated the body, and the tip of the dragon's tail fell off. The chimpanzee spoke next. Her giant shadow fell on the boys. Zhen shouted at Heng to be careful. The avatar barely managed to stand in front of the hero and take the full brunt of the blow. The chimpanzee used a fighting technique, a giant leg. The avatar and Han were nearly crushed. But at the last moment, the chimpanzee was lifted into the air. It was Sister Ju and Brother Xue who came. Xu Yu asked those bastards from Sinfire if they really thought they had no one in Blacklight. Baldy asked how Zhu got here so quickly. Yu clasped his hands together, stretching them, and said that the bastards were finished today. The pursuer told his comrade that it would be better if he didn't come. However, the bald man had a secret weapon that would shock even Master Blacklight. This is a steel-armed monkey. Heijo shouted that this was very bad. It is quite difficult to resist the dangerous appearance of a mature specimen. The steel-armed monkey didn't have time to attack before he got hit in the solar plexus. The beasts and the boys from Sinfire shuddered at the same time. They ran towards the monkey, which had crashed into a tree. Even Han cursed. Chu said that this was an attack from one of the Master's strongest pets, Nightmare Earth Dragon. Zhu added that it was no surprise that the steel monkey was destroyed in 2 blows. The dragon opened its wide mouth and roared. Su Heng sweated at the sight of the extremely dangerous sight. The bald man cursed because Shukai was already here. The boys jumped on the animals, but a blue flash appeared right in front of them. The bald one ducked, but the pursuer almost fell off the tiger. This attack blew in such a wave that the beast and its owner began to dissolve. Shukai saw the tamer from Sinfire flee. His figure, riding on a majestic creature, appeared before the hero and Shu. He didn't expect the grizzlies to get into the forest while he was gone. The man praised the boys. Suddenly he saw a python with its head cut off and Zhen bending over it in pain. His pet was brutally killed. Shukai asked who did it. Han replied that it was that vile bastard's manticore. The man told Shu to return to base. The girl accepted the order. The master turned around, saying that he would take care of the rest. In the forest, the bald man cursed, telling his men that the plan had failed. 3 guys didn't arrive in time. They died. The rest could only dodge the attacks. The guy in the blindfold said that it was too late. Shukai had caught them in the act. So the best solution was to report it first. The guys asked what Luo Yu thought, but the bald man asked not to fool him. The decision was taken unanimously. Suddenly there was a noise in the forest, and all 4 became alert. Shukai's figure rose from behind the trees. The girl screamed when she saw him. They had no choice but to run. At the base of the grisly forest, a mountain of corpses of Sinfire's animals has accumulated. The master stated that most of the invaders were destroyed. There were still 2 left, and Chu said it would be dangerous if they were caught off guard. Shukai added that he had inspected all areas, and the damage was not too serious. Of the hundreds of trees, less than 1/10 were collected, and about 100 bears were killed or injured. The grizzly chief would be furious when he found out, but the rest was out of Blakelight's control. The man also noted that Zhen's loss was not small, and he would report this to the tower. The timely support of Taju and Shui is considered a merit. Zhu let out a sigh, for he had not been asked why he had been AWOL in the forest. Suddenly, the master threw a report sheet at the guy, asking why Zhui was not in Rivet Town. Yu awkwardly asked, shouldn't he have supported Jen and Heng? Shukai sternly told him to quickly drag his ass back. Zhu stood up from the table. The man then said that Sinfire's plot was thwarted thanks to Su Heng. He was sure that the burgomaster would reward the boy, and since Han was on Kai's territory, he could not turn a blind eye to his merits. The master said that Han could pick out a couple of things from the base's warehouse, but the hero believed that he couldn't handle it alone. If it weren't for Jen, he would have died, so Heng wanted to give his reward to his comrade. The man said that it was very good that they were getting along. However, both will receive a reward. The master rose from the table and called Han to come with him, but the hero asked to wait until tomorrow. After a long time of work, Han wanted to see the treasures in the ancient book. The final direction of evolution of domestic animals is the same: transformation into a dragon. However, transforming into it is fraught with many dangers and requires treasures and materials. And with a treasure-seeking dragon, the chances of getting evolutionary materials are higher. The treasure hunter has several transformation paths, but he has fewer of them. The only way to maintain the beast's treasure-seeking ability is to obtain treasure and evolve it into a dragon beast. After leafing through the ancient book, Han decided to wait until dawn. During the day, the guy asked Tiju if he could go to the warehouse. The master asked Henu to tell him that last night the forward post discovered traces of a supply convoy from Sunfire. Shu Kai went to destroy it, but Heng didn't go with him yesterday, so he'll have to wait. Suddenly it dawned on Han. He told the dragon about it. Shio looked questioningly at the owner's sinister grin, and they ran somewhere together. Ju noticed that Heng had been acting strange all day. The sight of the girl grooming the red flame tiger reminded Han that no one cared about the grizzlies in the forest. Not to mention the special diet. And in the ancient code of dragons, there is the necessary recipe for bear fighters. Who said you have to fight to get the bear fruit? Han intended to make good use of his last days in the grizzly forest. With the help of the treasure-seeking beast, they made some very tasty dishes with the dragon. The grizzly was full of strength. Su Heng treated and bathed the bear. He also collected a lot of produce, including several rare bird eggs. Only towards evening did some changes occur. Grizzly used the 4th level roar technique. Han understood the message immediately. The bear said that their recipe was very tasty, so he decided to reward the dragon with a fight. The grizzly growled loudly, swinging his ripclaw. Xiao backed away, releasing power. Han only now remembered that the dragon's tail had not recovered. Grizzly crashed head-on into Xiao. He knocked the dragon to the ground. Heng shouted at Xiao to give in since he was still injured. But the snake dragon was proud. Grizzly, holding Xiao with one paw, struck with the other. The dragon couldn't dodge. He closed his eyes, a pulse escaping from his chest. Xiao firmly planted his feet on the ground and activated his dragon cry. Han froze. He had never seen this technique before. The grizzly winced, turned sharply, and ran. The hero asked Xiao if he had really unlocked a level 4 ability. The guy stroked the pet. He didn't think that Xiao would be so talented in strength. Suddenly, the snake dragon's scales began to fall off. Han screamed as he saw the sudden molt. A blue sphere formed around Xiao, lifting him and Han into the air. The bandage fell off, and the dragon's tail not only recovered, but also grew. The beast has grown to a late stage. His renewed scales were practically shining. Han was incredibly happy. Shukai learned about this progress from Ju. The master even asked if the girl was telling the truth. Chu couldn't believe it either, and she said that Jen was testing him on the training ground. The master immediately rushed there. At this time, Jen was standing with a tape measure in his hands. Shukai said that taking care of the convoy took time, but he heard about the late-stage snake dragon. Jen confirmed this. The master expressed his admiration to Han, as the dragon's strength had to grow for the competition. Shukai didn't know that the hero had exceeded the plan. The man asked Lin to arrange with Han about leaving for Rivet Town in the morning, and after that the guy would be sent to the tower. Su Heng had finished his special training, and now it was time to go to the warehouse and choose something. Han told the master that he had just returned from a long journey. The man replied that delaying was considered a breach of his promise, so he would compensate for it. Han would choose 3 things, so the two of them went to the grizzly timber yard. Han's eyes sparkled, and he asked if he could really take whatever he wanted. The master said he would wait outside. Su Heng immediately rushed to the warehouse. Inside were mountains of gold coins and jewelry. The hero was even a little taken aback by the scale. The grizzly forest encompassed lakes, valleys, and mountainous areas, which is why such a wide range of materials is presented here. The beast on the boy's shoulder began to drool at the sight of the treasure. Han stroked his head, asking him to wake up. He shook his head, remembering what the owner had told him yesterday. If there are such things in this warehouse, we need to find them. The animal raised its hands up in agreement. He jumped into the air somewhere with purpose. Han told him after he left that everything depended on luck. But the guy certainly didn't expect the beast to jump onto the bust of the tamer's statue. Han shouted that if the beast did not behave well, the snake dragon would eat it. The boy selected a large piece of evil fibrous root and a dried magical flower. The master didn't understand what Han was going to do with this and asked if the guy wanted anything else. The hero remembered about the fertilizer that improves the soil on the plantations, when suddenly the warehouse door slammed shut. Shukai said that the door was closed, so he congratulated Heng on what he had already received. The drilling mud that the guy took is the core material of the dragon treasure essence. In Rivet Town, the Black Lanterns were loading boxes into cars. Jen told Heng that the master had recently destroyed many of Sinfire's gathering points, but they might be able to do something in return. Suiyu intervened in their conversation and asked who Zhen was looking down on here. When Heng arrived in Rivet Town, he entered their territory, so Shua will bring the boy back safe and sound. Zhen became calm. He needed to go back. The boys shook hands. Lin said that they would always be glad to see Han in the Grizzly Forest, and the hero promised to return. Siyu told them to stop cooing. The next thing he did was order the security guards to check the fire extinguishing system. A group from Sinfire was in Rivet Town. They learned that today the city guards would be escorting the bigwig to the tower. The girl said that, according to information, it was this very big shot who interfered with their operation. The guy with the firekeeper's ring. Luoyu also learned that Lin Zhen had left the base. All they had to do was wait for the convoy. They will pass through the place marked on the map, and the guys will wait in the valley. The bald man watched the convoy from a pipe in a tree. He wanted with all his being to kill this bastard who was the cause of his brother's death. Suddenly, there was an explosion in the forest behind him. Jen came out from behind the trees with the avatar. He told the guy not to hide. Luo's two companions were killed by Commander Shu. Zhen will deal with him himself. Lin asked Luo to take another look at Su Heng's team as they stopped at the entrance to the valley. The bald man began to sweat. He considered it disgusting to use information as bait. Shukai laughed quietly. Luo was no longer as brave as in the forest. The master was here solely to protect Blacklight's tamer. The man told Zhen to avenge his pet. Han sat in the car and thought about why Brother Zhen had asked him to leave half an hour later. After some time, he saw Lin himself and Master Shukai. The hero got out of the car and thanked the master for his protection. The man smiled and said that it was time for them to go. 2 days later, Hung found himself in the tower. Gu wanted to see what had changed during the guy's absence. Han assured that he wouldn't let us down. He summoned Xiaoxi. The burgomaster rose from his chair. He walked up to the snake dragon and opened its mouth. Heng thought that it would be better for Xiao not to move. Zhou knew that many of his subordinates had been killed in the city. The hero asked the teacher if they would take revenge on the Grizzly Forest again, to which Zhou replied that the master of the forest had secretly returned. All who come, except the highest ranks of Sinfire, will die. Zhou was very pleased with Su Heng's success this time. Not only did he exceed his training goals, but he also played a vital role in investigating the poaching incident. The teacher asked Han what he wanted as a reward, and the boy asked if the man still had the dragon scales. The tower owner was even surprised that Han was asking for such a small reward. He offered something else. Then the hero asked for a reward for Lin Zhen. Han said that if it weren't for Lin, who sacrificed his beast, he might not have returned. Gu considered Zhen a good candidate, so he decided to send him a young green flame tiger. Teacher Lu Yu had one of these, so Heng had an idea what kind of beast it was. But that was not all. Zhou had prepared a villa for Heng in the inner fort. The hero bowed and thanked for the rewards, promising to live up to expectations. Su Heng was about to leave at this point. The man said afterward that the boy spent a lot of time on morality, but in the world of tamers, strength should be held in high esteem. Gu allowed the disciple to take 2 items from the 2nd floor of the treasury, and he reminded him that only the strongest in spirit survives. Han bowed again. On the way home, the hero pondered the teacher's words for a long time. He thought about choosing morality. But this assumed that man had to decide everything with his own strength. Han reached home in the evening, and he heard laughter coming from the mansion. He became curious about who his sister was talking to. The guy opened the door slightly, and a beam of light fell on the threshold. As soon as the door opened, Su Qing threw herself into her brother's arms. She threw him to the ground, hugging him. The girl heard from the guards that he was attacked on the road. Han stroked her hair and replied that it was all over. Suddenly the guy discovered that they were being watched. Qing said that these were her colleagues from the General Services Department of the Plantation Administration. The girl with short pink hair is Lin Mengwang. With long blonde hair, Jin Mei Li, they were good friends with Qing. Han waved at them from the doorway like a fool. The guy wanted to ask his sister something. Qing turned her brother around and scolded him, saying that he should fight for his life. He needs to start a family, and she has selected the best ones for him, with big breasts and asses, and they also know how to cook. A hard worker like Han is always away from home, so he needs someone who can do all this. The boy was tired from the journey. He wanted to go to his room and take a nap. Then his sister began to scold him. Su Heng couldn't resist his sister's desire to go on a blind date, so the entire dinner passed in an awkward atmosphere. It was only when the boy summoned a treasure-seeking beast that he caught the attention of the three girls. When dinner was over, the little sister asked Han to walk the girls home. Jin Meili told Heng that he didn't have to see them off. All they had to do was cross the road. Lin Mengwan supported her friend. Besides, they didn't know that Su Heng was so formal. The guy suddenly stopped the girls with his hand. The silhouette of an animal appeared from around the bend. It was a street rat, and one of impressive size. The girls huddled close to each other. Han said that this was an adult, low-level species. Mengwan didn't know that rats could be so big. Han suggested that the beast had mutated after eating a corpse. Storm rats live in packs, so it's best for girls to stay away from them. And indeed, 2 more individuals, hissing aggressively, blocked their path. Han clenched his hand into a fist. He realized that it was all about the smell of chicken. It's Rat's favorite food. The hero summoned a snake dragon. The mere sight of him made the animal's fur stand on end. They rushed away. But Han wasn't going to let it go. The dragon slowly released its power. He suddenly rushed after the rats, using his acceleration. Without stopping his flight, Xiao caught up with each one and cut them in half. 2 months ago, the dragon would have had to deal with the rats in earnest. But today, he dealt with them with a snap. The guards who arrived with rifles were surprised that the rats were already dead. The guy said it was worthy of a master tamer. Han said that at this time of year, rats are short of food, so they dig the ground in search of food. He asked the guards to request the blood-tailed cat from the security bureau, and the guys responded. Han also wanted the rats sent to the inner fort's quarters, Villa 73. The villas located next to Blacklight Tower are rich and famous. Villa 73, which Jogu gave to Hung, was Zhou's personal residence. Therefore, Hung was very envied, especially by Lu Ling, who lived in the house opposite. But when he saw Sister Qing, he immediately fell silent, and Heng doubted that this old man could have any thoughts about his sister. He always thought that Ling was a little hot-tempered and shy. The rat carcasses, disassembled into parts, were indeed delivered. Su Heng, as a master who owned 2 pets, had plans to recycle these corpses. Transforming consumables is expensive, and the black, thick liquid is a strategic material. The mutated ferocious rats made Su Heng remember something from the ancient dragon book, the bloodline incense. This is a type of perfume that can simulate the illusion of a blood bond between owner and pet. Even for those who have not yet become a tamer, this speeds up the establishment of a spiritual connection. Bloodline incense will become a hot commodity. According to the recipe, after extracting incense from rat corpses, dream worm venom and moon orchid hairs must be added. Han stirred the contents of the flask and poured it into the bottle. If this works, then you can make money from this product. The guy waited for the volatile smell to disperse throughout the room. Under the influence of the incense, Su Heng and the beast simultaneously entered the illusion. Han seemed to have become the little beast's old father, a full-grown beast seeking treasure, who, after the baby was born, took him with him every day on treasure hunts. He found a huge mountain of treasure, and the little beast was touched. Han suddenly had a headache. This perfume had a strange effect. Han wanted to hurry to turn the treasure-seeking beast into a dragon. The animal seemed to have gone crazy. It tried to jump on Han, and the guy screamed that he was not its father. Lin Fu told Hung in front of the treasury that if the guy didn't come next time, he would find him. The hero asked for forgiveness, explaining his absence by being busy with the move. The man laughed and invited her to follow him. As Lin approached the door, his hands were wrapped around his tails. A parasitic guardian beast, a particularly dangerous species. A squid crocodile slave, a mystic, and whoever opens the door must receive verbal consent from the owner. Compared to this, Master Shu's treasury cannot be compared to the Burgomaster's treasury. The door opened and fog came out of the room. The man said that the second floor of the treasury is considered a reserve. This is the first time he has seen the mayor allow someone to take 3 things at once. Lin Fu asked Heng not to let the Burgomaster down. The main character thanked the man for his work. The Blacklight's second floor treasury was a huge, complex place, giving the impression of being a library. On top of the treasures was a box that looked like glass. Han understood that Lin meant not to take more than he was supposed to when he asked him not to let him down. In the treasury, the guy met a dangerous species, an evil eye monitor. When this creature looks, everything is visible even more clearly than on an X-ray. Han told the treasure hunter that this time he would have to search for treasure through the seal. The little animal sat in its owner's talisman, clearly deep in thought. But he pointed out where to go, and with his help, Han was able to find a dragon scale and 100 grams of spiritual essence. However, the floating secret stone was nowhere to be found, although the little animal pointed upward. Han said that there was definitely no secret stone there. When the boy came out of the treasury, Lin Fu looked at what Heng had chosen. The man asked why the hero needed the stone, and Han said that he was missing a brick in his house. Lin Fu asked him not to make fun of him. There is a secret stone hidden in this stone that can only be found on the 3rd floor. He thought that Han had a keen eye, although the hero had a different way of searching for treasures. Now all the materials for the dragon transformation ceremony have been collected. Han leafed through an ancient book. He chuckled. The guy thought the animal would be something like a snake dragon, but everything turned out to be simpler and rougher. Han took the animal by the scruff of the neck. He carried it to the table with the essence. The ceremony will begin right now. Jugu has 9 disciples in total, with Su Heng being the youngest, and 8 siblings occupying important positions in the tower. They are also very strong, real masters. A meeting was scheduled, but initially between Bai Su Su and elder sister Tsoi Na, to discuss the Hunter Guard. The 3rd brother took this opportunity to let Su Heng meet the 2 older sisters. That's where all the thoughtlessness from the start comes from. Choi Na heard that the master had designated Su Su to create the 8th Hunting Guard. Bai said that almost everything is ready, but she is still choosing the last member. Han was interested in this. Tsoi decided to clarify because Hen doesn't know about them. The Hunter's Guard is a special unit of blacklight, but other settlements also form guards. The Hunting Guard hunts down all kinds of dangerous creatures, and also searches for and collects materials. It consists of 4 warriors and 12 attendants. Blacklight has 7 guards. The girls said that the eggs of animals brought by the guards are used to select the masters, so this is important. Choi could introduce Susu to a good newcomer, a girl named Rana, who became a master 2 years ago. She has a mature ironwood and a mature dormant butterfly, both of which are dangerous species. Recently, she acquired a young, especially dangerous species of bloodlion. Tsoi Na called this girl with great potential. Han remembered that that was the name of his teammate from the Six Lands tournament. However, Susu still couldn't figure out who to take. It was a burden for her to distract the newcomer. Ling asked to be allowed to introduce the girl to a guy with great potential. He pointed to the hero. Bai asked who Han's newcomer was. She wanted to see him. Choi told Ling to stop, since Heng had only become a master a couple of months ago. However, Susu was interested. Ling confidently recommended Su Heng. He wasn't putting on a show, but he already told me that Han has only been working as a trainer for 3 months. He has 1 pet, and it is a very dangerous species. And the snake dragon that Su had a couple of months ago was already in mid-growth. Ling laughed, asking Han if his dragon was already in the late stage after the grizzly forest. The commander-in-chief asked the girls if this guy was a super rookie. Bai asked Heng if it was true that the dragon would soon grow up, and Choi asked to show it. The hero did not refuse. He summoned Xiaoxi, but I completely forgot that during this time the dragon had increased in size. Ling sensed this aura and said that he had no doubt about Han's talent. But the hero replied that the dragon had become like this only recently. Tsoi said that the guy needed practice. Let him come to her in the hunting guard, where he could practice his skills. Bai crossed her arms over her chest and reminded him that she was missing one, and her guard was in full force. The girl covered Susu's mouth, saying that she would not tease her anymore, and that Heng would become hers in the future. However, it seemed to the hero that he had to decide for himself. Someone pulled the door handle, and Ling noticed that there were a lot of customers today. The man who came is Tim, the son of Father Jolly, who is in the pharmacy where Han tried to sell the bloodline incense. To cope with the tournament, the hero planned to sell everything and raise the dragon to the next level. Incense is a new drug that hasn't appeared in Blacklight before. Its price is 100,000 per bottle, but today Tim came to buy a batch. His father wanted to buy more than 10 bottles. Han said he had been selling samples for 10 days now, and people were asking for 10 bottles, which was strange. The man guaranteed that he would pay for the goods he wanted to take as much as possible. Tim confirmed that his father's card contained 1 million, prepared for the vials. Eventually, Han and Jolly decided on the payment and quantity. When paying, the man asked to contact him next time if there was anything new. The guy thanked him and headed towards the exit. Jolly glanced at his son. He punched him, telling Tim not to play the fool. The boy asked why his father told Han that 1 bottle had been sold. Apparently, the man simply asked to have them put on the counter. They already have so much stuff, they'll be in deep shit if they can't sell it. Jolly replied that Tim was still too young. Even veteran masters will use vials to tame pets. Demand will exceed supply. Tim laughed and said that his father was not a master, so he did not know if it would work. The man hit his son again, shouting that Su Heng was the burgomaster's genius student. They must establish a relationship with such a person, because they will not be able to do business in the future. Tim, with bruises from the blows, asked his father to talk calmly without beating him. Soon, the competition participants, led by Lu Yu, gathered in the courtyard. She said that Blacklight's honor was at stake in this competition, and it was an opportunity for the tamers. If they can get a good rating, their career path will be higher. Wang Xun and Luo Chong listened attentively to the teacher's words. Rana and Lin Yuxin stood with their backs straight. Lu Yu exclaimed that they should help each other together and asked if they understood. She assigned them to cars, namely, Wang Xun and Luo Chong to the third car, Rana and Yuxin to the second. And Su Heng will ride with her in the first armored car. Wang blurted out why they didn't sit with Mrs. Lu, why Heng turned out to be the best. Chong replied with a smile that Han had recently become a tamer, and they would still have chances to show him where his place was. Compared to the Grizzly Forest, the Tournament of the Six Lands is located further away from Blacklight. Thanks to good roads, the route takes less time to complete and can be covered in 2 days. Besides Blacklight, the tournament also includes Red Scorpion City, Lianying Castle, Luansha City, and Luyun. Blacklight is strong, but the other 5 locations have their own specialized techniques, and it is still unclear who will win. At night, Blacklight set up camp with tents. Lu Yu said that the third group would check the fortifications in the first half of the night, and the first and second would prepare food. The overall preparation will take some time, so Han needs to prepare more. His talisman lit up. It was a beast-seeking treasure. The baby came out. Dragon scales appeared on his back, and they took the dragon bloodline from the treasury. Han thought about it. He decided to check whether his beast had acquired the ability to fly. The boy caught the animal when it began to fall and hugged it. Lu clapped her hands and told everyone to get busy feeding, especially the pets. She asked the tamers where Su Heng was. Kong replied that he had summoned his beast and was chatting with it. He called Han an ordinary man with a scaly beast of mixed blood. The hero and his beast heard this. The little animal started to swear, but no one except Han heard it. Scaly beasts is a collective term for dangerous creatures that are born with scales. Beasts with mixed blood are usually very weak. Han thought that these guys just needed a reason to make a fuss. Wang Xun asked if a mixed blood animal was not the same as its owner. The boy didn't understand what kind of power Han could have with this mediocre animal. Wang summoned his sand mountain lion and steel beetle. Rana summoned a demonic tree, a sleeping butterfly, and a blood lion. Lin Yuxin, ghost flower tiger and energy swift. She said that this time they all represent Blacklight. They are a team, a single unit, so gossiping is not good. Kong responded, calling on the beast, that in a team you should only listen to the one who is stronger. His scaly armored beast began to tremble. Xiaoxi emerged from the talisman and stood behind Heng. The scaly beast aimed at the dragon's tail. Xiao struck his tail and the beast flew into the air. Chong exclaimed, "What is he doing?" Han didn't understand if the guy was talking to him. Luo Chong summoned a blood wolf, thinking that Heng was going to start a fight. The hero replied that this was a misunderstanding, for he had not given the order to the snake dragon. While he was saying that Xiao was in a bad mood, the dragon pressed the steel beetle into the ground with its paw. Han turned to him and sternly asked how the dragon could behave like this. Wang Xun became angry. Chong started yelling that they were a team. Didn't Han know that they needed to stick together? Then the hero quoted their own words about how the team will listen to the strongest, and for them it's normal to throw mud at people. He crossed his arms over his chest and asked with a smile, "Isn't that so?" Wang Xun called the guy by name. Han stepped forward, saying that they would have to count on him. In that case, why don't he and Van have a training session? The boy replied that he was talking about Han's scaly beast, not the dragon. Han asked Wang directly if he was afraid. Jun asked tensely in response, like, they are a team after all. The hero added that if the guy doesn't want to be alone, then let him be with Chong. They can choose 4 opponents. Lu thought that Han was a good person in the training camp. She didn't know that he had such a strong side. The guy said he wouldn't make fun of them. Wang Xun cursed the advice from his elder, but Heng told them to fight. The 4 beasts surrounded the dragon and Han from different sides. The hero said that this was a simple and effective tactic, but naive. The blood wolf grinned aggressively. Before he could attack, he was pushed away. Xiao simply flicked his tail. The boys were speechless. As the sand lion jumped, the dragon swung its paw. He dealt with the beetle with a vicious attack that boosted his speed. Xiao pressed his steel head into the ground again. Rana covered her mouth with her hand, wondering when Han had become so strong. After that, the boys sat on benches around the fire. Chong offered Han some dried snow yak, and the hero asked if it was salted fish. The boy, as if wagging his tail, assured that it was not salty last time Chong was careless. Rana wondered why they hadn't seen Heng's talent before. Lin asked what Wang thought, and he turned away. The concept of complete superiority of power is common in the wild, but for Luo Chong it is quite rare. At least they were on the same team, so Han decided to turn a blind eye to it. The closer the tamers got to Blacklight, the yellower the leaves became. The place where the tournament took place was called Red Maple Valley because of the trees. The main building of the tournament was erected through the joint efforts of 6 centers. The panel of judges included leading masters from Blacklight Castle and other competing cities. Each judge was of professional level or higher. On the one hand, they served the game. On the other, they represented the voice of their gathering place. When Han got out of the car, he saw tamers from another city. Lu Yu explained that this was the Red Scorpion Castle. and they were on good terms with Blacklight. Lu Yu was called. Jifei didn't know that a girl was leading the team this year. Lu didn't know that the guys from Red Scorpion Castle would arrive first. The girl replied that they had to arrive first to drink Blakelight's honey beer. A sharp, loud sound. Jifei looked angrily towards its source. The armored vehicle made a characteristic sound. Ji went to sort it out. She slammed her foot on the car doors. From there came out Tingqi, the leader of Linyun City. Behind him is Wang Yi. The man asked what had happened. Tingqi asked pitifully why she was kicking such a thing. Jifei shouted, "Who told him to honk the horn? He's too noisy." But he did it to say hello to everyone. Then the girl threatened that he would not get the honey beer. While they were arguing, Wang Yi's attention was distracted. He saw Han. The hero thought at this time that the boy next to the leader was also from Lin Yun. People slept poorly all night as column after column arrived. The next day, after the rules were clarified and the oath was sworn, the Six Lands Duel Tournament was officially opened. The tournament uses a fair point system, with 30 people playing against each other 5 times by lot. 1 point is added for a win, 1 point is subtracted for a loss, and the final is opened by the 8 that score the most points. At the registration desk, Jifei told Heng that each participant could only register 2 beasts. Han thought the snake dragon was good, but so was the treasure hunter. He decided not to show one so as not to be in demand. The guy standing behind couldn't believe that there was a mixed-blood beast-shaped trash in Blakelight. In the dueling arena, the host announced that in the first round, a participant could change his or her animal no more than once. If an animal loses the will to fight or is unable to fight, it loses. The first 2 sides are Blacklight Castle, Su Heng, and Yunhua from Lin Yun Castle. Yunhua told the cannon fodder, Heng, to show off his beasts. The hero asked which of them was cannon fodder if the guy only had a mid-level dangerous appearance. Hana said sarcastically that he wouldn't bully Han if he only had a beast with bloody scales. Spectators considered this boasting to be nonsense because of the dangerous appearance of the average level. Heng called Xiao. The dragon looked at his opponent and curled up. Hana said that the dragon doesn't even have the desire to fight because he is of a low class. The cloud leopard suddenly lunged forward, aiming at the dragon. One movement of the tail knocked the leopard off its spot. The beast flew back across the arena. Yunhua exclaimed that these were unworthy methods. Tingqi announced 1 victory for Heng. According to the rules, Hua must summon a second pet. The boy said that he would report it because his opponent was cheating. The man asked the boy if he knew what a snake dragon was. He was sure that Han had a mixed blood beast. He was not going to give up. Hua released his second pet. He followed the leopard and crashed into the wall. Spectators began to protest, shouting that Blakelight had sent a very dangerous species to the tournament, which was unfair. Chong shouted that the snake dragon had not yet reached maturity, and this was not considered exceeding the limit. According to the rules, you can take any pets. Seeing passive aggression, Chong began to defend Han, saying that his brother had raised such a monster on his own, and that one day all the animals will stand in line for Su Heng to pick them up. Let them look at this genius. Wang Xun and Rana exchanged glances. Wang swore that this guy had let Su Heng beat him half to death. Chong had never been like that with him. The first round of the tournament was a clash of cannon fodder from all walks of life, including worthy masters like Su Heng. Besides the hero's complete victory, there were still people from Blacklight who fought, and Wang Xun distinguished himself this time. His opponent was a guy with similar strength, and the 2 sides fought for about 20 minutes. Rana, Wang Xun, and Chong with Yushin each had 1 win and 1 loss. It wasn't until the 4th match that Su Heng faced Wang Yi, a top 8 favorite with 2 mature events. Wang Yi and Su Heng have 3 wins each. Usually a 5-match win is enough to reach the last 8. Therefore, this fight is important for both of them. Han even started to get nervous, because the black tiger with a steel claw used steel energy to strengthen its defense. Wang wants to use the damage-for-damage exchange technique to engage in hand-to-hand combat with the dragon. The hero shouted for the dragon to use the energy earth cannon. Xiaoxi's aura was incredibly strong, even the wind swayed under its pressure. The snake dragon's new attack, which uses high-speed movement and bullet enhancement, is difficult to deal with. This technique emerged after Xiao entered the late growth stage. The sinister combination was aimed at the tiger. The enemy beast was enveloped in thick smoke. A barrier of ice rose in front of the black tiger. The spectators were worried, but the referee arrived in time. It was a damn dangerous moment. Tingqi announced that the first victory of this round goes to Su Heng. Wang Yi believed that after this battle, the dragon had expended a lot of energy, and Heng's second beast should not have any fighting power. The guy didn't think that in such a short time the hero would be able to train a very dangerous species, while also taking care of another pet. So Wang summoned his second steel 2-tailed beast. This beast was unlike any other animal, as if a powerful mixture of predators dominated within it. Heng told Xiao to use an evil attack first to test the opponent's defense and recover. The dragon rose into the air and released a string of dark pearls. Wang confidently declared that he would not lose, for the steel two-tailed beast was his true strength. His counterattack is the power of steel, a double saw. The beast Van's tail became stronger and covered with spikes. The guys said tensely that this was no longer a beginner's fight, that Su Heng's pet was finished. However, Chong defended Han to the very end, shouting that he must have another ace up his sleeve. Van calmly gave the command to the beast to attack. The steel beast swung one tail, resembling a wide bat. He managed to touch the snake dragon's hands. And while Xiao was falling, the steel beast accelerated and pressed the dragon's head into the arena with its paw. Han saw that nothing worked against the enemy beast's defense, only the beam of evil could penetrate the defense. Wang Yi suggested that the guy give up. He was already good enough to be in the top 3. If they continue fighting like this, it will only get worse. However, the hero replied that Van had no choice but to admit his defeat. Well, the guy warned me, so now Han is finished. The steel beast received double strength. Suddenly, earthen stakes appeared in front of him. The beast began to break them with its paws to get to the dragon. Wang repeated that it was useless. It was impossible to break through the defense with such a level of attack. Han asked with a grin like, what if there are more of them? Shai slammed his paw on the ground, and a whole hill of stakes rose up from the arena. The earth attack spread to all sides of the arena, and the steel beast was thrown back. The spectators' mouths dropped open. It was incredible that the arena's landscape had completely changed. Xiao breathed angrily, hot steam pouring out of his mouth. The steel beast also tried to catch its breath. It was not in Van's interest to have little time left, as Henna's dragon could use the earth to restore its strength at any time. Then the guy decided to change tactics and attack with spikes. The steel beast released a handful of sharp thorns. Spinning in the air, they flew towards Xiao with a whistle. This was a great chance for Van. The steel beast's forked tails turned into long spikes. They reached out to the dragon, who had lost his vigilance. Wang clenched his hand, commanding the beast to grab the snake dragon. The beast wrapped its grip tightly around Xiao's body. He leaned towards the ground to attack. However, the serpentine dragon broke free from its bonds. Xi reached the 4th level of enlightenment and summoned a warhammer. Wang Yi shouted. A heavy hammer struck the ice. Ting Qi stopped the attack, declaring Su Heng's second victory of the round. With Su Heng's victory, there is now a list of 5 consecutive winners. Blacklight Castle, Lianying, Linyun City, Red Scorpion City, Chaos Sand. All of them are participants from different gathering places. But unfortunately, Su Heng knocked Wang Yi out of Linyun's arena with a warhammer. There are 6 people left with 4 wins and 1 loss. Unfortunately, 3 of the 6 ended up in the last 8. The winner moves on, the loser is eliminated. Once again, Su Heng was lucky and was chosen first by lot. He was given the weakest of the 8, Li Fei, the tamer of Lianying Castle. Li Fei eventually gave in. Han apologized to the guy and wished him well. The guys in the arena were shouting that this was nonsense. In less than 20 seconds, both animals were knocked out. Chong squinted like a fox and rejoiced. He shouted to someone across the arena that his brother would defeat him too. The bald man swore. He had been watching Han all this time. Tingxi announced that Luo Fan from Linyun City and Chending Xuan from Chaos Sand City would meet today. They were already standing in the arena. Chending Xuan had the dangerous appearance of a red polar wolf and the appearance of a windstream falcon. Luo Fan has a golden mantis and a fire-scaled beast. The battle between them was fierce, but the falcon was victorious. In the second battle, he did not have time to use up most of the fire beast's power, after which he quickly lost the battle. Luo Fan sent his strongest pet, the red polar wolf, into the arena. Chending Xuan's unsuccessful exit from the tournament meant they were officially out of contention. The third battle of the day was between Ji Mei of Red Scorpion City and Quan Zheng of Lianying. The girl has a particularly dangerous type of king scorpion and a blood scorpion. Her opponent is a fire monkey of a particularly dangerous type and an explosive beast. During the fight, the scorpion was about to give the monkey a poison training session, but the fire monkey dealt the fatal blow. In the second fight, Quang Zhen faced a large scorpion that could hide in the ground, and Ji Mei advanced to the quarterfinals. One more fight. Wang Yi thought it was unfair that he met Su Heng first, and then Huo Hong. His level of perversion was no less, but the people of Linyun City would not easily admit defeat. However, what else could Wang do if not give up? Huo walked to the arena balcony and told Su Heng that they were currently tied. He suggested not to draw lots, but to fight now. The hero didn't understand why this guy was staring at him like that he wanted to draw lots. But Chong suddenly stood up and shouted like, "Why shouldn't the trash from Lianying do it?" The hero jumped up and grabbed Chong by the collar, saying that it was he who had insulted him. Chong wanted to explain, but Han couldn't hold back this time and gave him a hard punch in the face. Still, the hero had to enter the arena to answer for Chong's words. Huo Hong stated that he only now realized how worthless Heng was when he humiliated Master Wang Yi. The guy wanted to explain, saying there was a misunderstanding. The bald man replied that there was no need to explain anything. He understood everything. Chong yelled for Han to defeat him. An evolved form of fire monkey appeared next to Hong. The guy removed his main power, the eagle beast, to wear out the dragon. Han knew right away that this fight would be tough. Xiao was already breathing heavily. Hong really wanted to use the monkey's agility to wear down his opponent. The fire monkey spewed streams of fire. She bent in the air and shot fire. Xiao's movements were dexterous and fast. Watching the dragon, Hong thought that it wanted to use the dragon hammer to sneak up. Then the guy ordered the monkey to use the armor. The beast was enveloped in armor, the fury of flame. With this armor, the fire monkey took off from the ground. The dragon stood on its hind legs, straightening its shoulders to attack. But the monkey interfered, and the animals grabbed each other's paws. Hong's expectations were met. The boy gave the command to the beast to use a furious headbutt. The fire monkey's eyes flashed red. The beast sharply tilted its head back, swinging. Hong said that the strongest defense is the head, and the weakest attack is the head. Heng will not be able to use the hammer. However, who the hell said that the attack of evil is a war hammer? It was a modified technique, a compressed evil beam. This is exactly what Xiao used. Wang shouted sharply at the monkey to run, but it was too late. The beam of evil hit the target. A huge hole appeared in the fire monkey's stomach. Ting Qi quickly announced that Su Heng had won the first round again. Hong didn't seem upset. He said, okay. With the second beast, he intended to miss nothing. The Lionhawk was a problem, as the serpent dragon had never been in an aerial battle before. The previous round hadn't exhausted Xiao at all, and his opponent's will to fight was palpable. Han whispered to the dragon that they could try something. Suddenly, the hero announced that they, Blacklight, were giving in. The guy turned to the balcony where the teacher was sitting. Lu Yu introduced herself as the leader of Blacklight's team, and she had full authority to make this decision. It turned out that the tournament was a competition for 3 places to enter the ruins. First, second, and third place have equal rewards. In the end, Su Heng won the qualification to enter the ruins by placing second in the finals, with Huo Hong and Ji Meiyu placing first and third. The evening after the tournament, Han looked into the teacher's tent. He asked Lu Yu if she had been looking for him. She assumed that the fort master had told the boy about the ruins, but what she was about to say was very important to remember. Han listened attentively. Lu should have told him this before the tournament began, but the burgomaster didn't have much hope of winning. It turns out that Zhou didn't even believe in Heng. The teacher said that the boy became the second Blacklight tamer to receive a place in the tournament. She asked Han if he knew what was the most valuable thing in the Blood Forest ruins. The guy had no idea because he wasn't told. The ruins are home to many young animals that are rarely seen in the outside world. You can't take many animals with you, but you can grab valuable resources. Heng thought it was great, but Lu Yu didn't know that he had a treasure-seeking beast. The Blood Forest ruins are so vast that over the years of tournaments, 10 times less has been explored than the ruins themselves. Lu suggested that Han explore the area that had already been checked. The teacher once again emphasized the importance of safety. Han understood this. Lu Yu handed the boy a medallion on a string. She wanted him to take it with him. The hero asked what it was. It turned out to be an artifact in which the tower's owner had sealed a trace of the power of his first beast. A secret weapon. Very soon, Lu Yu and the tamers stood at the entrance to the ruins. The girl turned the stone ball and it lit up. The energy source rose into the air. It was the mental energy of a great master. 3 teachers joined forces. A dinosaur's head emerged from the portal and asked if it was really that time of year again when the secret reveals its shoulders. Ting Qi replied to Milord that the time had come to open the annual portal to the ruins. The head gasped and said that they would do it. The portal opened wider on the other side. Han has 1 month to do his research. After the time has passed, he will be sent here by the Lord of the Blood Forest ruins. Huo Hong and Su Heng looked straight into the portal. The head said that first she would brand the tamers with her scent. But if they dare to enter the inner zone, even his smell won't help. The last thing my lord said was for people not to be too greedy. The tamers were thrown into another place from the portal. The guys stood up first. Ji Meiyu was coming to her senses. A bloody Tyrannosaurus Rex stood before them. The girl asked what the Tyrannosaurus would do. The beast opened its mouth and drooled all over the boys. Han thought this ceremony was unique. Rex said that they could now do research. In a month he will track them down and bring them back with their things. The girl's clothes were soaked through and stuck to her body. Huo looked at her with a red face. Meiyu said that they could separate. Hong thought the idea was good. Everyone split up and went to the places that had been previously explored. Since yesterday, Han had been thinking about how to hide the second beast. But there was no good way, so the hero agreed to split up. Thus began his journey, the treasure hunter showing the way. The guy doubted that the treasure was in that exact place. The ancient book said that these plants love shade but need dry conditions. But this place had nothing to do with dryness. Han flew on Xiao's back, following the little animal. Ever since this little one learned to fly, he stopped liking being held. It is difficult to hold an animal if it weighs more than 20 kilograms. Han saw something. Beyond the river was a completely different landscape. The little animal kept pointing somewhere beyond the river. Yet he found this shedding grass. It was called the scaly transformation grass. This is a miracle born from the scales of a dragon after its fall into a specific environment. The older this plant is, the higher the chance of turning into a Jiaolong. Han's eyes lit up as he encountered a top-quality plant. Xiao and the guy were suddenly distracted by the noise. The baby quickly flew up to its owner and pressed itself against his face. The guy didn't understand what he wanted to say. Han whispered to the snake dragon to hide. Xiao flew over the waterfall. All three of them were looking out from there. In the place where this grass grows, many creatures of the dragon race hide and hunt, and they guard the ripening of scaly grass with the purpose of devouring it. A dangerous species, the Yuri's toad, appeared on the horizon. She had to reach a mature stage. A rare plant was reflected in her eyes. She jumped towards him, croaking loudly. Suddenly, a crocodile emerged from the river. It was a particularly dangerous kind of water, evil, beast. Han thought the toad was finished. Suddenly, the urea opened its mouth, yellow lightning emanating from it. The crocodile flicked its tail sharply. The beast flew into the air. Han believed that the toad would not be able to get out of the situation. Lightning raised the boy's hair on end. The tension was terrifying. The toad saw Su Heng. She seemed to start to puff up. All her electricity flow was directed at the crocodile. He froze with his toothy mouth open, his skin starting to smoke. Han dodged, the tension growing incredibly strong. The crocodile was charred. Han never thought it would end like this. The guy had already decided that he wouldn't be able to get the grass. The toad had already approached her and licked the tips of the leaves with its tongue. The crocodile woke up and ran sharply towards the toad. He grabbed her by the paw and snapped his mouth. Han thought this crocodile was cool, because he had escaped from the clutches of death and could now kill the toad. But even so, the urea broke free, sacrificing its paw. The crocodile rushed after the toad, and the two of them disappeared. It was a great opportunity. Han only dreamed of getting this herb. All that's left to do is run away as far as possible. The crocodile bit the toad's belly. He began to bite off her limbs. Suddenly he smelled a distinctive aroma. Xiao rushed through the forest. The animal also smelled this scent. It was coming from Han's bag. A powerful blow was heard in the forest behind us. The kid pointed back, but Han didn't understand why the crocodile would pursue them. The guy looked at the dragon and understood everything. The plant was smelling. Han underestimated the scent of this plant for dragon creatures. The hero opened the bag and asked Xiao to open his mouth. The snake dragon immediately grabbed the grass and chewed it. Xiao jerked forward sharply, causing the guy to tilt back. He didn't know that this thing had an accelerating effect. The boy forgot that the treasure hunter also became a dragon. Han said that the hunter was the strongest beast, and if they found anything, he would give it to him first. The animal turned away slightly. Han offered him a deal. The baby extended his paw to the boy, and they linked their little fingers. So the deal was made, and Xiao rushed forward. He braked abruptly, and then he sped up again, swinging Han on a kind of swing. The dragon's scales began to glow and rise upward. The scales began to fly off along with the blood. Han stretched out his hand and pressed his hand on Xiao's wound. The dragon couldn't stay in the air and crashed into the trees like a stone. The treasure hunter and Han fell next to each other. The energy of the plant eaten by the dragon began to act. Han didn't know how long it would take the snake dragon. The guy remembered that he had a bottle in his bag. The hero decided not to move the dragon into the ring, but to watch him at night. As darkness fell, Su Heng set up a small hut. The guy said that the more dangerous the species, the stronger it will be. But every evolution of an animal is accompanied by increasing danger and pain, and one day development will stop. At this time, masters will have to make the difficult decision to change their main pet. Those pets that cannot keep up with the master's progress become a hindrance. Masters will also be able to take more powerful and advanced pets into their possession. Even a master as strong as Zhou Gu faced such a choice. His weakest pet was among the strongest, based on emotions or voluntary severing of the mental connection with a tamed animal. This will cause great mental and spiritual trauma to the master, so they do not abandon these pets. Instead, they are placed in a specific location and artificially fed for the rest of their lives. Heng stroked Xiao and thought that he didn't want to be separated from him. The boy pressed himself against the dragon's head and whispered that he would do everything possible. The next morning, Han was playing with the treasure hunter. The kid hit his owner in the face with all his might. Han said, "How dare a beast use such force," and suggested playing again. Just as they were starting to play rock, paper, scissors, a third paw joined them. Xiao came to his senses. Su Heng and the treasure hunter jumped up and began to hug the dragon. Xiaoxi stood up on his hind legs, showing off his height. Han was delighted, because the dragon had grown to 6 meters, and this is a sign of maturity. Xiao touched his master's forehead with his claw. He became very close to maturity, and the plant also allowed him to understand the dragon dream skill. Now the dragon can use it not only on itself, but also on other beasts, on Su Heng, so that the owner can restore his strength. Seeing the guy who hadn't slept all night, Xiao hoped that Heng would be able to get some sleep. The ancient Book of Dragons has also changed radically. After a restorative sleep, Han set out on his journey again. In the past, limiting the bloodline of the snake dragon has always been a problem, but new information released in the book has cleared things up. If the lizard line is chosen as the basis, then there are 23 paths of evolution. Among them are intermediate types of horror, hammer-tailed and electric dragon lizards. The hammer-tail is known for its massive tail, which resembles a siege hammer. Electric horn dragon lizard, born with the power of lightning. There are high-tier types of horrors, such as the hill dragon lizard, magma dragon lizard, and war dragon lizard. The dragon lizard combat system, the steel fire system, can be called a fortress. Han thought that if some master obtained these evolution methods, he would cry with happiness. He didn't know what would be the best choice out of all this. Suddenly the pages of the book were flipped. The pages said that if the snake dragon chose the snake dragon as its main line, it would have 37 paths. These include the mist dragon, storm dragon, ice dragon, frost dragon, and inferno dragon. The mist serpent dragon is a fearsome species with a fog and water system that can render itself invisible. Su Heng felt that this ability was too conspicuous, so he decided to look for another method. The serpent dragon inherited the earth system, but lacks the talent for evil, causing it to lose opportunities. The wind and thunder snake dragon, which combines the power of evil and lightning, belongs to the highest level of horror species. The war dragon is strong, but it's too bulky, so the wind and thunder dragon is a better choice. Defense mechanisms were discarded in favor of powerful attacks. In the book, Su Heng read about the metamorphosis of the wind and thunder snake dragon. He had a direction and a list of materials. Thus, the hero found himself in the Tonkin Plain. Han thought they had exhausted all their luck. They hadn't encountered anything of value in the last 3 days. According to the map, they will be located in unexplored areas. After the treasure hunter became a dragon, he gained the ability to share images in his head with his master. Han saw through the eyes of the animal what he could not see himself. 2 dragon beasts, harbingers of flame, chased after a tree that can walk. They almost had him cornered. However, Han had the feeling that he had seen this tree before. He leafed through the Dragon Codex. The guy found a page that talked about a tree that absorbs energy, a nearly extinct species. This level of evaluation is unique for an ancient book. The trees that absorb energy came from the outer void, and most of them live like that. At the very beginning, such trees float in the void in the form of a seed, until it absorbs enough void energy. In this way, the plant grows until the seed form is completely destroyed. All the trees fell to the ground due to the resulting void crack. This species' absorption abilities can help Xiao become a wind and thunder dragon. The dragon looked questioningly at its owner. Han understood that the power of this tree was actually very great. The energy-absorbing tree belongs to the dangerous systems, namely, the void, the magical, the devouring, and the plastic. A tree is capable of consuming a large amount of energy, storing it in its body and growing fruits. This helps the animals a lot, quenches their thirst, and has many advantages. This tree is also capable of producing certain fruits when samples are consumed. It's like a combat laboratory for masters. Anyone who possesses such a tree can create an army of high-quality pets. Xiao agreed with the owner, and they flew to save the tree. The snake dragon flew high and soared freely in the clouds. They landed near the scene of the incident. A stone hit the beast's head. The treasure hunter flew out to attract the dragon's attention. As soon as he became distracted, he received another dose of stones. In a rage, the dragon rushed after the treasure hunter. Another dragon roared and ordered the tree to stay put. The tree turned around. It barely had time to bend to prevent the stone from piercing its trunk. Instead, a sharp stone flew straight into the dragon's rear, turning everything inside into mincemeat. Xiao's hammer appeared above the two of them. The snake dragon struck the beast on the head with a hammer from a distance. Han said that this beast deserved to be a dangerous species, because even after the hammer, it only passed out. This technique failed to kill him even when it hit its target. While the hero was thinking, Xiao managed to approach the tree and began to demand something. The treasure hunter and the snake dragon wanted to feast on it. Smiling, Su Heng said that he needed to be tied up first. This was done without any problems. Heng attached the tied tree to Xiao's back. As night fell, the tree was freed and the boy made a stop. Han stood up from the rock to talk to the tree. He said that if the contract is concluded, his pets will not worry about food. Releasing energy, the protagonist extended his hand towards the tree. The moment their mind powers connected, Han saw a strange image. The tree threw a vest over itself. Sunglasses, chains, and a microphone. A tree started rapping. He sang about growing up happy and carefree, going for walks. While looking for a new place, He became the target of an attack and was caught. The tree is panicked, the tree is scared, the tree is helpless. Han felt sick. He didn't think that this tree would be so hipster. He poured out high-quality hunter's food for the tree, saying that if it liked it, it could eat Xiao's portion. Han assured that if the tree became his pet, it would receive everything it needed. However, the tree said no. Then Han told the dragons that there would be no dinner because the tree had eaten everything. The showdown began. The hero covered his ears. He wasn't sure if it would work. Suddenly, Han remembered that he had brought the incense genealogy with him. It smelled just great. The protagonist spilled this solution near the roots of the tree. Thus, the tree and Su Heng simultaneously fell into the illusion. The guy felt like a mature tree, absorbing energy, floating in the infinite. One day he came across a multicolored seed, which turned out to be this tree. Su Heng felt the urge to take care of him. The boy, being a big tree, took root on the void meteorite. And the energy-absorbing tree accepted Han as family. So the hero suggested to the tree to come to an agreement again. The tree joyfully ran to Han, calling him Papa. As soon as their fingertips touched, a bright light appeared. He blinded everyone. Han decided that this tree was also approaching the end of its growth phase. The mental energy output was too great. Light of the eyes, the stage of spiritual cultivation. The reputation of the beggar Heng has increased. He asked the tree if he could reproduce the food he had just eaten. The tree began to shake its head vigorously and fruits began to fall. The huge apples of different colors smelled exactly like food for dragons. The treasure hunter sat on the top of the tree and began to eat apples. The tree took Han's hand and pulled it close to show him something. It started rapping again, talking about itself. He was 2,000 years old and believed that copying food was simple but tasteless. It could even make energy fruits from the Blood Forest ruins. The tree handed Master Su an apple, saying it was good for him. The guy sat down on a stone and began to examine the colors of the fruits. Everything was as described in the ancient Book of Dragons. The iron marrow fruit was a true energy fruit. According to Blacklight's notes, there is a huge forest of these fruits in the ruins. However, it is home to a very dangerous species of steel-armored rhinoceros. But now Han has an energy-absorbing tree that can carry entire ruins with it. After using the iron bone fruit, a strong film forms on the surface of the animal's skin. In the case of scaly creatures, the durability of the scales increases. But nothing changed with Xiao's scales, so Heng asked the tree to produce more fruits. The tree shook its head. Han invited the treasure hunter to play a game. He started throwing the fruits to Xiao like to a dog. After many such times, the effect was activated, but all the juices were squeezed out of the tree. Xie stood up on his hind legs and growled. He swung his hand, testing the strength of the swing. The dragon's defense has reached the level of a mature individual. Han opened the book to see if a tree could become a dragon. As strange as it may sound, a tree could become one. It could transform into a shield dragon, converting energy into a shield, or into a supremely terrifying form, capable of creating dragon blades and attacking beasts from a tree. Han said that the third direction does not have much defense, but it is the best in his opinion. It is the highest terrifying species, the wood dragon, which produces twice as much. After reading, the hero told the treasure hunter what materials to look for, but after many planes they still found nothing. For this reason, the hero changed his stopover location to the Black Tombs Forest, which was located near the ruins. The whole forest is so dark and gloomy that it resembles a black cemetery, hence the name. This place is much more dangerous, as it is home to a complex population. According to Blacklight's predecessor, there are many horrific-looking burials in the area. Some collected the dragon crush flower, which could only grow on a terrifying-looking corpse. Thanks to the tree, Xiao digested the grass energy and entered the mature stage. Han believed that they had the right to enter the Black Tombs Forest, since the dragon's abilities had increased. According to the documents, there should have been a stream at this place, but there turned out to be a ravine. It turned out that the stream had dried up, and the ravine had appeared due to the terrorist appearance. Han doubted whether they should go further. Half of his allotted time was spent searching. Therefore, there was no room for hesitation. So Xiao crossed the boundary between the Blood Forest ruins and the Black Tombs Forest. But the hero didn't notice the sign. And on the way he began to encounter snakes, which Xiao overcame. Han realized that something was wrong, because it was half a day's journey to these pythons. They encountered more high-level dangerous species here than they had all week. While Han was thinking about how this place didn't match the map, a boa constrictor snuck up on him. The guy suddenly grabbed the animal by the head. He shouted to the snake dragon. The snake turned towards Han and hissed, instilling fear. Xiao flew up and grabbed the owner, attacking the snake with a flying swipe. The hero shouted that they needed to be careful, as it was a mature specimen. A huge boa constrictor wrapped itself around a wide tree branch. Heng asked Xiao to go deeper into the forest where the boa constrictor would not be able to squeeze through. Following them, the snake crashed its mouth into the rock. The boa constrictor was thirsty for blood. He slid down the cliff into the gorge at breakneck speed. The snake dragon managed to fly into the cave. The boa constrictor stopped chasing them. Han thought that it had escaped. Now they could be sure that they were on the right path. The hunter was unhappy, but the boy said that if they returned the same way, they would encounter a boa constrictor. Han didn't understand this dissatisfaction. Did it mean that the treasure they had been searching for more than half a month was in front of them? With the help of the energy-absorbing tree, the hunter entered the middle stage of growth and sensed the treasure 10 kilometers away. The closer Han got to him, the more his heart beat in fear. Due to the terrifying pressure, the boy did not encounter other dangerous species along the way, and this caused concern. Su Heng asked the little animal how close they were. The hunter pointed in the direction with his paw. Due to the pressure in this place, Xiao was practically unable to fly. The hero was afraid that this area was the territory of a certain group of terrible creatures. Thus he found himself faced with the possible existence of a higher kind of terror. The reason Han decided to move forward was not because he was overextending himself. He chose to believe in the rich metaphysics of the hunter's repeated successes. Soon the hero came to the source of the aura. The nest was located in a huge cave. The entrance to the cave was more than 10 meters high. The highest point of the cave exceeded 20, and resembled the lair of a huge, terrifying dragon. Unfortunately, there were too many bones in the nest. It was just huge. Suddenly Han's eyes widened as he felt the pressure increase. A bloody dragon pool stretched out before him. The guy was glad that the transition from plum to seeds exists. Dangerous creatures created a wild and primitive civilization. The blood pool is a part of the civilization that is necessary for raising offspring. It is also necessary to increase the potential and concentration of the bloodline in the offspring. The pool was created from the essence of blood, and even the life force of a huge number of dragon creatures. Han walked up to the pool and asked the dragons what they were waiting for. He invited them to drink the pool, because it was a treasure. Xiao and the hunter rushed towards him. The animals began to lap up the liquid from the pool. Han thought it was too slow, so he summoned a tree. An energy-absorbing tree stood in the middle of the pool and sunk its roots into it. Fruits grew on its branches. From the absorption, the tree trunk began to expand, until its roots had absorbed everything without a trace. Han joked that it was a hostile takeover. The animal flew up to the stones that had appeared in place of the pool. It was the dragon's bloody bone marrow, and there was a lot of it. This is not something that is innate. The dragon's blood and bone marrow are accompanied by a blood pool and dragon springs. To create such a treasure, the dragon's life force must be at least at the horror level. Even at the bottom, there was a shallow layer of dragon bone marrow, and Han feared that the number of dead descendants was at least 5. The hero understood that this was not something to joke about. He told his pets that they had to get out of here. The treasure hunter began to cleanse the bloodline, but such cleansing can not only help, but also harm. Then Han decided to collect the wood first, and when the hunter was purified, they would set off on their journey. Su Heng knew how dangerous this place was. His whole being told him to run. He encircled the tree, but right underneath it were 2 mysterious blood-red eggs. Heng told Xiao that this was the biggest chance of his life. He must eat as much as he could in 10 minutes. The hero mentally prayed for a blessing for his safe return. Sitting in the cave, Han cursed. He became very nervous, because the snake dragon was lying around, absorbing energy. However, the problem was that Xiao ate too little. So the guy put the bloody eggs in a bag. It's time to go. Xiao chewed on the red dragon skin. It was the scaly armor of one of the finest types of horror. Suddenly the dragon stopped and looked back, and Han froze. They both felt an ominous aura. A loud roar came from above the cave. Han shouted that they needed to get out. The boy ran up to the cocoon and said that it was better to fail in cleansing than to lose his life. He had to run, he couldn't leave the hunter. The cocoon began to open. Han stopped. He was ready to wait a little longer. At this time, Xiao looked out of the cave. The boy asked the dragon if he had also felt it just now. There was a huge herbivorous dinosaur standing outside, and Han suggested standing behind it to wait for the hunter. Suddenly, a bright red flash was reflected in Han's eyes. A bright red beam from an incredible distance pierced the dinosaur's body to the bones. There was a powerful explosion, and everything around was filled with red light. It was the attack of a terrifying, mature-looking, bloodthirsty Tyrannosaurus Rex. He, like the treasure hunter, had the ability to see over great distances. Rex saw Han's bag. The guy was on his knees, coughing up dust. He said that the Tyrannosaurus was at least 2,000 meters away. The hunter finally broke out of the cocoon, and it had grown considerably in size. Han guessed that the cleaning was complete. There was nothing to worry about now. Han mounted the snake dragon and ordered to leave here. Xiao used acceleration. The Tyrannosaurus fired bullets of terror. Those giant red beads flew straight towards Xiao. Han cursed. He said that they would die if they came under this attack. The dragon dodged the attack, and the boy realized that the Tyrannosaurus was trying to close the hole and save the eggs. The guy decided to take them, but the treasure hunter stopped him. This move was strange, because Rex was preparing a more powerful attack. A wide beam of light illuminated the dragon and Han, and it seemed that their end had come. But this was just what the hunter was waiting for. He managed to fly out of the explosion. The hunter became a full-fledged dragon. He used purification. Han asked him not to exceed a height of 40 meters. The dragon flew swiftly. The guy shouted that he was crazy, because these eggs are very valuable. They can attract something. A yellow glow formed around Han and the dragon. Now the hero understood what the use of the pedigree was. The hunter hid them. But this didn't happen for long. It was difficult, but the dragon cleared his bloodline at the right moment. At his current speed, he could outrun a bipedal bloodthirsty Tyrannosaurus. Rex was furious. He lifted one leg and concentrated hard. And then he directed a red beam into the sky. This powerful energy attack cut through the air. Han almost fell when the dragon suddenly dodged. The distance was more than 2,000 meters, but the Rex was approaching. The sky was lit up by round bullets. This technique was called Bloody Hell. Han had every chance of dying that very second. But the hunter became much stronger. He activated God's speed. His dash was faster than the speed of light. Knowing that the Tyrannosaurus was looking at them, Han stuck out his tongue at him. Rex let out a loud, almost despairing roar. Luckily, the hero managed to escape. Han said that the hunter would receive a reward for this escape. But next time they won't fly until the beast learns to break. After landing hard, Han summoned the snake dragon. The guy asked Xiao to look after them. They needed a break. Su Heng slept through the night using the fruit of the energy-absorbing tree. According to the book, treasure-hunting animals are born with 3 abilities. The first is the talent of a treasure hunter, which the beast already possessed. Treasure summoning can cause some special treasures to come out of their hidden state. The mystical premonition was far superior. The treasure hunter also obtained the mystical skill of dragon soul transformation, cleansing the bloodline. He is similar to the ghosts from ancient texts, but can now collect the souls of deceased dragons nearby. The crocodile, who was fighting for the plant, happily devoured other herbs. Suddenly he discovered that the grass was gone. With the help of the treasure-hunting dragon, Su Heng was like a tiger with wings. The herb they were looking for could be seen as a snack after everything that happened. In the blink of an eye, it was time to leave the bloody ruins. According to Master Lu, it is forbidden to take young pets out of the forest unless they have been bonded with a trainer. Han was racking his brains, because if the eggs looked terrible, then he wouldn't be able to tame them. And the dragons were enjoying the fruits of the tree. The guy approached them and asked if they could figure out how to carry out these eggs. The dragons were salivating over them, because the eggs were like energy fruits. Han thought they just wanted to eat. The guy looked at the tree thoughtfully, and it dawned on him. This idea was inspired by a boa constrictor that the hero encountered. And the deep-sea giant crocodile, no less important, is the participation of Xiao. Reptiles have the ability to swallow prey with their mouths, and this is the key to smuggling. It won't be easy to notice Xiao's full stomach, but it can be launched back into the talisman. The boy carefully plucked an apple from the tree. This frozen jelly fruit is another key to success. The gastric juice of the snake dragon is terrifying. The juice of this fruit can form a protective layer on the outside of eggs. If it weren't for the fact that the tree had copied all the fruits of the Blood Forest ruins over the past 10 years, this plan would have worked. Frozen fruit juice makes an excellent coating. Many call it an excellent remedy, but it is a great luxury. Han looked at the tree ominously. He reached out to it, and the tree was terrified. Well, it turned out pretty well. But the tree's life force was almost exhausted. Han topped the eggs with frozen fruit and mushroom from the ruins. Now they were under protective film. Xiao's eyes sparkled at the sight of the eggs. Han told him that he could swallow, but not bite too hard. The dragon caught 2 bloody eggs in his mouth. The guy explained that they were not for the dragon. The next morning, the roar of a Tyrannosaurus was heard. He asked the little men to take everything out of the secret place. The dinosaur wanted to make sure there was no contraband. Jimiyu walked past with her handbag. Huohong with two, too. Imagine the shock of the guys and the Tyrannosaurus himself when they saw Han. The guy awkwardly said that his catch was a little bigger. The Tyrannosaurus leaned over to the bag and sniffed it. The tamers silently prayed that Han would be left here. Rex said the guy had collected a lot, but he was getting by. The boys shouted that this was unfair. Han chuckled as the plan went well so far, until the T-Rex asked to summon pets, including the ones they had tamed here. Han tried to remain calm. Hua showed off the bloody moon demon wolf. Ji is a bloodthirsty bat. Once again, Han excelled here too. Hong noticed that this beast did not meet the requirements. The Tyrannosaurus approached the tree to sniff. The hero thought that this tree would attract attention. My lord declared that although it was an ugly tree, it would pass. This remark offended the tree. It even started crying. Han had already thought that he had escaped with an escape. But the Tyrannosaurus turned its attention to the snake dragon's stomach. Here comes the end. Xiao bowed before the Tyrannosaurus. He felt that inside the dragon there was a powerful heart of their race, beating. Han had the master's talisman with him in case of anything. He clutched it in his hand, which was behind his back. Even if he blocks the attack of the bloody Tyrannosaurus, it will be impossible to escape from the ruins. Rex sat down, thinking about how the treacherous humans dared to try to steal their young in this way. Suddenly, the Tyrannosaurus felt a familiar feeling. The smell of that guy. In the ruins, the Tyrannosaurus clan is very strong, not to mention the Blood Rexes. Their leader has 20 to 30 heads in the group, but with evolution, there are only 2 left in the entire Tyrannosaurus group. The race has not yet formed, but their strength has broken through racial shackles. One can compare with a pack. And the second one is the old patriarch of the tribe, who is responsible for the tribe's economy and is loved. Not long ago, the bloody Tyrannosaurus created a problem. He challenged the patriarch. It is the tradition of Rexes to be warlike, and there is nothing wrong with that. However, in battle he used underhanded tricks, leaving the old patriarch with a serious wound, and he was eventually driven out. The Tyrannosaurus took over a large area of forest far from the pack's habitat, hunting dragons like crazy, and he built a blood pool for his offspring, even though this method had long been banned. Each bloody Tyrannosaurus could only claim the post of patriarch once in his life. That's why my lord didn't reprimand Han. If that guy was defeated, his descendants, after being purified by blood, could become new patriarchs. Rex felt strange because Han wasn't trying to deceive him. So he decided that he would let the guy take the offspring of this bastard, and perhaps the offspring would turn against the creator. The Tyrannosaurus said that Xiao's stomach only contained food, so he passed. My lord gave Han a thumbs up, and the boy returned the gesture. Ji asked Huo tensely when the two had gotten to know each other. Hong decided to make a note to let his people know. The portal opened a month later. The boys took turns entering it backwards. Outside, Han was already expected. Shu Kai arrived to pick him up. The man asked to go with him. He wanted to explain everything on the way. Han asked if the Sinfire bastards were causing trouble again. It turned out to be a wave of disaster. In his short 18 years of life, Su Heng had never encountered a wave of such magnitude. Simply put, the disaster is the onset of a kind of terror these creatures attacked human settlements. The last wave of disasters occurred in Blacklight more than 30 years ago. The former head of Blacklight was not the only one who died in the war. Jogu was also under threat, but a combined effort saved him from disaster. Due to his great merits and personal authority with power, Zhou was elected to the throne of the head of the tower. Shukai said that this is a medium-sized wave. It is different. This time, the tower's leader brought with him nearly 10 of Blacklight's strongest masters. They set out to find the source of the wave to solve the problem. All the masters left their cities, which led to the vulnerability of the people. Now Blacklight's troops converged on the defensive wall of the assembly point. The withdrawal of troops from 4 main lines will be a tragedy. Han immediately thought about his sister's safety. He suggested to the boss that he return to the plantations. Shukai replied that they were gathering in town to prepare for the meeting. The journey from the Blood Forest ruins to Rivet Town will take at least 2 days. It is important for animals to stop from time to time so they can eat and drink. Under the pretext of replenishing supplies, Su Heng walked around Shukai, and the snake dragon spat out 2 eggs. The hero hid them in a good place so that the animals could not find them. The boy didn't want to spread the word that he had secretly brought out the cubs of a terrible appearance. Heng didn't hide the tree, and even gave the man some fruits so that the horse could regain its strength. While they were resting, Shukai gave the hero some instructions. Han wasn't so stupid as to let the tree bear fruit in front of a man. When Han arrived in the city, he said that the town had become a military town. The Black Lanterns saw the boss and gave the order to open the gate. Heng followed Shukai. The man invited him in. Han smelled a strange aroma. Suddenly he recognized that smell. Shukai led the boy to a pile of raw meat. He said that food comes first before troop movement. Han replied that the animals must eat special food, but it was ordinary meat. Shukai said that the boy would see when the time came. The meeting began. The chief commander of Haeksu City, Gao Zun, contacted Blacklight. The command staff said over the earpiece that external support for the operation was under their responsibility. Gakugo introduced Kaozon to Yoko. The hero was surprised to hear about the city of Haeksu. Sui said that in the center of this city, there is the only mine for extracting energy crystals. Gao Zun himself is a ruthless man, and the girl next to him is Shu Yuping, a master poison maker. She defended the energy mine alone, leading a group of 6 super dangerous species. The girl inflicted serious damage on the terrorist species. Han couldn't believe that she could handle 5 super dangerous species together. Shukai asked the boys to come out to help with the loads instead of gossiping. So the guys started loading boxes of meat into the cars. Han asked what was happening to Blacklight Castle. She replied that there was no use in rushing. There was a difference between a large group fighting and a small one like theirs. Anyway, Boss Gao and the others are veterans. The hero asked why he hadn't seen Sister Ju and Brother Lin Zhen. Shu Yu explained that Jen remained in town because there were metal deposits there. By the way, the guy added that Jen wants to thank Hung for his request to Joe to give him a pet. Loading such a quantity of meat took a very long time. The gates opened and Han saw a crowd approaching. Heijo brought a whole pack of grizzlies with her. Heng was delighted to see her, but Shui was stunned. The girl sat astride a particularly terrifying species, the grizzly lord of the forest. Zhu froze with his mouth open. Han didn't expect such a creature to rush to support Blacklight. The Black Lanterns gathered in front of the grizzly. Gao Zun greeted the dear master of the grizzly forest. The bear used spiritual transmission of words. Gao reported that the food was ready and would soon be divided among the bear warriors. Sui said that the owner of the grizzly forest was once the leader of bear fights, but the head of the castle brought it to the level of a particularly terrible appearance. The mayor is incredible. He made the grizzlies do what they were told. Han said that the master of the forest, the grizzly, is not just a particularly terrifying species. The bear extended his paw towards the box of meat that the hero was holding. The lord of the forest took the box in his paws. Heijo called the guys 2 idiots. She held heavy boxes of meat freely in both palms. Zhu whispered that for some unknown reason, Zhu had received the approval of the first son of the lord of the grizzly forest. The girl came up to him and grabbed the guy by the ear because he was always chatting. Heng was confident that Sister Zhu was the only one who could control Shui. The army of fighting bears that came from the grizzly forest quickly recovered thanks to abundant food. Under the command of the lord, they took up position on a hillside outside the walls of Rivet Town. A big battle was approaching, and Han certainly didn't have time to rest that night. Under the arrangement of Boss Shu, Su Heng and his 2 companions discovered something. A strange convoy was spotted in the passage behind Rivet Town. Heijo ordered everyone to help unload. The boys got to work on it. A huge helmet fell out of one of the boxes, leaving Han stunned. Zhu challenged him to guess whose idea it was. Right in front of the shocked hero, an army of war bears obediently walked towards the center of the caravan. With the help of humans, the bears were equipped with custom-made battle armor made of special steel. Su Heng had every reason to believe that this group of ordinary battle bears had not yet mastered the energy. With the shine of this armor and its quality, they became even more powerful. While the bears were busy, people did not sit idle. The armed forces of more than a dozen vassal lands were centralized. 70 to 80 armored vehicles, as well as thousands of troops, entered Rivet Town. By the end of the day, Gao Zun and the others counted about 2,000 people who had come to support. Gao announced that reinforcements from all sides would be sent to Black White to lift the siege. A wave of disaster is approaching. Homes are in danger. You need to protect your land. The soldiers swore to fight to the death to defend their home. Guo gave the command to go forward. Han sat inside the armored vehicle. Weya introduced himself. He was the temporary commander of the 2nd Tactical Unit of the 4th Brigade. On the tablet, the man showed the plan from the top that needed to be followed. A group was formed to combat particularly dangerous zones, and the forces were divided into 4 brigades. Su Heng is the accompanying master of the 4th Brigade. Shu Yu led the main attack of the Mechanical Corps. Heng's task was simpler. Shu Kai is really careful with the hero, because the 4th Brigade had the least firepower. It also had the lightest combat load of the 4 tactical brigades. The dangerous creatures of the disaster wave are primarily driven by instinct to fight, and this biological instinct is no less important than human tactical command. Blacklight Castle took the form of an integrated defense supported by walls. Only after the reinforcements had set out did the warbears set out. According to Gao Zun's battle plan, the mechanized army was to enter the battle first. By attracting combat units of different tiers hidden in the wave, the masters advance forward. The mechanized corps will move in one direction under the cover of combat bears. Eventually, they will break through to the foot of the city wall and form a single fire network. To implement this plan, we need to reach Blacklight before dawn. Han said that then they would have to cross the danger zone. The transport stopped abruptly. A giant creature could be seen through binoculars. It was a terrible sight, a fire doll. Under such pressure, dangerous species would have to escape. Suddenly Han saw the bear standing in front of him. It was a moon bear with a ghostly face, and for the first time in his life, Han witnessed a battle between terrifying species up close. The doll tilted its head in a creepy smile. She created fireballs. They gathered into one clot, the fire of death. A fire sphere flew into the eye of the moon bear. Han was shocked, but that was to be expected from a high-level type of horror. Gao Zun's strength turned out to be stronger than the boy had imagined, and thanks to it, the army crossed the border. The Thunderhammer's horn is not as sharp as that of a normal rhinoceros, but it still has destructive power. This rhinoceros was assigned by Gao Zun to walk at the end of the entire army, in charge of the rear. Thus, even the animal dolls that escaped from the pressure will be destroyed. The commander radioed for the vehicles and crews to stay close to each other. He asked Shu Kai if he took them. The man opened the hatch and looked out. Shu Kai summoned the beasts. It was a fiery lion, yellow brontosaurus and fen kilin, and also a magical child. Along with the fire golem and the rhinoceros, 6 terrifying-looking creatures were summoned. Crystals sparkled ahead. These ice things grew to enormous sizes. Han said that these crystals do not look like natural minerals. Realizing what they looked like, Han remembered God. Blue crystals were sticking out everywhere. And finally he appeared. The rest of the dragons climbed out along with the leader. Han didn't understand how something like that could have ended up in Blacklight's danger zone. The hero never thought that this was possible. This plane is called the Plane of Rock Cracks, which the castle's leader discovered 20 years ago. It was not possible to detect it earlier due to the hidden location of the canyon, which is why the beast hid under Blacklight's nose. This monster was called the Rock Spider Dragon. The Burgomaster was the first to escape alive and completely conquered the top of the pack. As a result, the Rock Spider Dragon and the leader entered into a non-aggression pact. Otherwise, even Gao would not have dared to lead the army. The Rock Dragon is a warlike race, and even when restrained by a leader, they behave aggressively. Gao Zun summoned his main forces to hold back, as the dragon feeds on energy crystals. According to the old Dragon Codex, this is a rare race that is among the top 3 in Han's list of favorite pets. That's why the hero couldn't find any mention of crystal dragons in the teacher's books. It turns out that the crystal dragon in Blacklight Castle is called the Rock Ridge Dragon. Han decided that once he got over this wave, he would try to tame the crystal dragon. The guy felt the car shake a little. He thought, is there really going to be a battle? The purpose of this reinforcement is to support Blacklight without unnecessary losses. Gao hoped that Shu Kai had brought enough things this time. He ordered them to move forward. The cars drove quickly over the uneven terrain. Crystals began to fall from the body. The rock dragons immediately took notice of them. They ran up to the crystals and began to eat them. In this way, these creatures were kept busy. Gao shouted that they were leaving. Having passed through dangerous territory, the army could relax a little. Around 4 o'clock in the morning, reinforcements arrived at Blacklight. The most terrible thing is that countless dangerous creatures have gathered under its walls. The tide of disaster is accompanied by a constant hissing and roaring. The most numerous systems were those of animals and insects. From time to time, powerful and dangerous creatures appeared against the backdrop of the wave of catastrophe, spewing streams of energy. The fighters defending the walls opened artillery fire in response. The parties came into conflict from time to time. The roar of a 2,000-strong army and hundreds of vehicles attracted the attention of the rising tide of disaster. The tide instantly turned into a huge band rushing towards reinforcements. This stream could be seen on the monitor. The soldier informed the commander that 2 high tides were approaching them in 2 hours. Among them, the 6-fingered sword spider and the tooth-rotting wolfworm pose a great threat. Cao said there was no need to worry about this dangerous species. The man gave orders for all troops to take advantage of the high tide to occupy the area in front of the castle walls. Gao ordered the divisions and ground troops to provide cover fire for the mechanized units. The order was accepted. There were shouts that they needed to reload faster. Gao ordered the destruction of the beasts. Under the roar of artillery, the wave of disaster fell like wheat harvested with a scythe. But only dangerous species were quickly destroyed. There were incomprehensible monsters that crawled out from among the waves. They held back the fire of the advancing beasts in packs. Their common feature is a terrible appearance. Han's face darkened and he cursed ordinary fire didn't harm these creatures. Therefore, the power of the 7th level fire doll was used. Along with the wave of fatigue light, the magical child created an attack ball. The first attack was used to slow down monsters, the second to deal massive damage. But the truth was that the keen sense of high-class species was not inferior to human intelligence. The animals tried to interrupt the magical child's skills. The rhinoceros erected an enlightened thunder fortress. The barrier became electrified from the attack of a dangerous species. Han was pleased to see the power of the perfectly matched pet lineup. One of them has the ability to control. The magical child created another ball. Gao gave the order to all the masters to summon their pets to join the battle. He also reported that underground worms are especially good at underground warfare. It will be a long battle against the wave and a huge number of animals. The large-caliber artillery of the mobile units is not yet capable of stopping the high-class forces of disaster. However, they are effective in destroying low and mid-level dangerous creatures. By surrounding the artillery and guns of the mobile units, this formation turns into a meat grinder. But it is not enough to simply control the ground forces, the air forces, and underground forces will not miss the meat grinder. Gao Zun said that in the next battle, they should become accompanying masters. It is necessary to hold mobile positions and destroy enemies in the air and underground. A multitude of insects emerged from underground. The battlefield was a chaotic mess of spewing acid, flying creatures, and explosives. The snake dragon was so strong that it killed and wounded many creatures. The fighters fired their rifles. One of them told Su Heng that his dragon was very helpful. Suddenly Han froze. A bead of sweat ran down his cheek. A bright beam of blood cut through the air between the boys, tearing Han's cloak. The snake dragon did not notice that he was being watched. The dangerous appearance of the bloodthirsty tiger released an aura. This beast is naturally thin, but monstrously strong. Han thought he could handle it. He walked up to Xiao and ordered the dragon to retreat and use bad thoughts. The snake dragon, trying to keep its distance, created evil beads. But the bloodthirsty tiger managed to jump off the rock. Xiao didn't like this. He moved from his place and flew a decent distance in a second. The dragon had no intention of keeping his distance any longer. The tiger leaped forward, pushing the snake dragon away with a wave of force. It turns out he didn't come alone. Han cursed. There was no way to defeat them directly. Bloodthirsty tigers surrounded the dragon. He spread his powerful wings and used the dash. Xiu rushed at the tiger and grabbed it by the front paws. With a heavy swing of his paw, the dragon struck the beast, throwing it away. After that, Xiao landed next to the owner. Han thought that this was not an arena, but a fight of injury for injury. This is exactly what the beings of the Tide of Disaster wanted. The sight of the bloodthirsty tiger gave it motivation, but the dragon did not retreat. Xiao let out a powerful, terrifying dragon roar. The tigers were pushed back and thrown into the air by the explosion. Han shouted to the others to hurry up. He asked Wei to tell the armored vehicles and attack aircraft to suppress the two on the left. 3 tanks moved forward. It was an incessant fire of chaos, and the snake dragon took care of the rest. With one movement of his paw, he pulled stone stakes out of the ground, piercing the tigers with them. Xiao growled, pinning the beast to the ground with his paw. Gao admired the skills of the student whom the burgomaster had taken on. Shu Kai laughed. He thought Heng was a good guy, but he didn't understand how he could be so ferocious in battle. Han climbed out of the hatch of the armored vehicle and began firing from 2 rifles. Shu Kai even felt awkward. Targets were detected along the course. Cao said something was coming. It was an underground beast. A 1,000-legged, armored, terror-level predator suddenly appeared on the battlefield. With one movement, the beast cut the armored vehicle in half and threw it into the air. Gao asked Heng to focus on the enemy, and he would ask the fire lion to provide cover. There are many dangerous creatures lurking in the wave of disaster. High-class beasts are waiting specifically to destroy people. Without the deterrent of military might, humanity will be defeated. The fire lion moved like a terrifying shadow. Gao couldn't believe that the flying creatures had already started coming out. Then the man called upon the Child of Thunder. It appeared in blue guise. Shu told Gao to be careful, as the air monsters were dangerous to mobile units. The Thunder Child called upon lightning, and she created a single arrow from them. Electric discharges struck the predators. Han didn't expect that Gao had such a pet. Suddenly the terrain beneath the tanks began to rise along with the equipment. It turned out that the Air Force was just a cover. The real attack was underground. It was a high-level terror threat. It took less than a minute for him to break out. Earth Sandworm. He could spit acid plasma. This level 7 attack would literally melt an armored vehicle, not to mention a person. The sandworm hovered above the ground to get a better view. His eyes glowed and his mandibles twitched. Heng called Xiao to help quickly. If the Mobile Legion is captured, all generals will have the same outcome. The guy cursed. A spit of plasma hit the dragon on the chest, but he simply shook it off. It's time to fulfill the Master's mission. Han closed his eyes and erected dragon-scale armor. Cao said it was time to destroy the wave of disaster. It is a war of attrition with no end in sight. The commander shouted into the radio that they would be in children's poems for posterity. This will be a testimony to the glory of our ancestors. All the masters spoke out against this highly dangerous species. They had pets with shields, and there were flashes of hope amidst the darkness. Su Heng was breathing heavily and was having a hard time. He said that he and Jue would not be able to contain this horror, even the snake dragon. The sandworm bent down and hissed its mandibles. Hope has appeared. War bears led by Heiju appeared on the horizon. The grizzly forest lord stood before a high-level view. The fight has begun. The grizzly tore off part of the animal's paws from the right side with one powerful blow. From midnight to dawn, from early morning to dusk, the squad destroyed more than 200,000 dangerous species. Only when the blazing sun was about to go out did the battle end. 3 of Blacklight's walls were breached, and 20% of civilians were injured. More than half of the tens of thousands of allied troops were left forever on the scorched earth. The division of Master Tamers numbered 100 people, 39 remain. Crisis is an opportunity for development. The carcass of every species is a valuable asset. Flesh, blood, fur, scales, bones, these are excellent materials. If Blacklight can recycle the profits of this war, it will be a step into the future. A very dangerous species, a medicinal, easily pollinated flower, has appeared at the Animal Training Center. He helped the snake dragon heal its wounds. Heng expressed his admiration for Sister Lan's skill. The girl said that an easily pollinated flower might be weak for Xiao. A man entered the treatment center and told Han that he should go to the inner council chamber. The burgomaster returned. He was looking for the source of the waves. Han saw the man through the open door and asked if he had returned. Jogu said that they were looking for the source of the wave, and this time it was strange, the hero thought. The mayor and Cao Nian cleared out the source of the disasters, and an abyss resembling a mouth with sharp teeth was discovered. Traces of a mountain-sized creature were found inside the abyss, so they dove into the abyss. At the moment when they felt relieved, a vibration of spiritual energy began to emanate from the bottom of the abyss. At the very bottom of the abyss, dozens of species of horror and a sea of dangerous guarding larvae teem. The larvae had holes, each capable of releasing thin threads of spiritual energy, manipulating the catastrophe. They were the ones who led the attack on Blacklight Castle. Together, the masters destroyed all the dangerous creatures at the bottom of the abyss. We managed to take some things. Han looked at the table carefully. The ancient book began to update the information, and the hero's head began to hurt. It was a catastrophic nest, a plague that lasted for thousands of years. Han saw that the Twilight City was humanity's last hope. The old times will come, and only through destruction will new life begin. Su Heng saw this specimen mature while he was unconscious. The burgomaster's pet helped the boy come to his senses. Jogu asked what happened to him. Han said he was fine. He was just happy when he heard about the mayor's return. The man said that this time Han had a hard time. Joe said he would ask his older brother or sister to tell Heng if anything happened. The hero could not believe that the old dragon codex from the future and the monster egg were not the real source of the plague. Nest eggs never hatch singly, and they open the doors to the darkest era. The nest is a terrible weapon of war. After hatching, a giant creature appeared that the master could not find. They can create a standing army of dangerous creatures using matter and energy. The nest is a creation. It creates armies that do not need to grow and fear death. The time spent on this production is small. The destroyed larvae are a type of creation. Nothing more than a tool used for control. Han punched the wall, not understanding how he could tell the mayor about this. Suddenly the boy opened the door to the hall, remembering that something was wrong with the teacher's wound. The reason is the nesting chamber, which envelops the egg like a queen, creating energy for incubation. For the masters, it is a deadly poison that corrodes vital organs. According to the code, an ordinary person dies 2 months after the poison enters the body. The professional might live for a year or two. And Han began to think about an antidote. The guy rushed forward, deciding to start by saving the master. For 2 whole weeks, Su Heng developed a plan. Every day the boy felt anxious. At first the hero sold 68 bottles of incense. He did not keep a single one for himself. I also sold some rare materials that I found in the ruins. In total, he received 23,000 million steel coins. However, this was not enough, so Han borrowed another 30 million. The guy bought materials for 2 antidotes, but some of them were spoiled during the experiments. Han lost all the money on 2 antidotes. If he messes everything up, it will be pure injustice. The most difficult thing about this strange energy is that it is connected with life and death. The solution to the problem is to turn mutually exclusive into mutually beneficial. Decades of trial and error were spent on finding the optimal balance. Han added the finishing touches to the flask and it worked. The next step is to make the potion draw energy from the pebbles at the source of life. The hero poured the necromancer's nails and stone into the flask. There was a small explosion, and it appeared, the medicine.